A desperate single mother kneeling in broken glass. A crime lord who rules Chicago from the shadows. One moment of eye contact that will destroy everything she knows about survival. If you want to see how far love can fall into darkness, stay until the end and drop a like and comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels across the world. Bates. Rain didn't just fall on Chicago that November night. It attacked. Fat drops hammered the streets like fists, turning Michigan Avenue into a river of neon reflections and diesel exhaust. Inside the Velvet Rose, the city's most exclusive lounge, the weather existed only as a muted backdrop to wealth. Crystal chandeliers cast amber light across leather booths where aldermen negotiated with developers and CEOs, toasted mergers that would gut entire neighborhoods by morning. Elena Velez didn't belong here. She knew it. The clientele knew it. Even the marble floors seemed to reject her scuffed work shoes as she moved behind the mahogany bar, pouring 18-year scotch for men who wouldn't remember her face 5 seconds after she walked away. 28 years old, exhausted down to her bones. Dark hair pulled into a ponytail so tight it gave her headaches because anything else looked unprofessional according to Gerald, the floor manager who watched her like she might steal the garnish olives. Her hand shook as she reached for the top-shelf bourbon. Not from nerves, from the 3 hours of sleep she'd scraped together after her daughter's midnight fever spike. Lily, 6 years old. Leukemia. The word still felt like swallowing glass every time Elena thought it. The crystal tumbler slipped. Time fragmented into slow-motion horror. The glass tumbled through expensive air, caught the light, then exploded against the Italian tile with a sound that cut through every conversation in the room. Silence dropped like a guillotine. Elena's stomach lurched. That tumbler cost more than she made in a week. Gerald was already moving toward her, his face twisted into the expression he reserved for firing people. Jesus Christ, Velezan! I'm sorry. The words came out strangled. She was already dropping to her knees, fingers scrabbling for the larger shards, trying to become invisible. I'll pay for it. You'll pay for it. Gerald's laugh was sharp enough to draw blood. With what? You're 3 weeks behind on your uniform deposit. Heat flooded her face. Around them, the wealthy pretended not to watch while absolutely watching. This was entertainment. Watching the help grovel was just another amenity the Velvet Rose provided alongside the overpriced whiskey. Elena's vision blurred. Not now. She couldn't cry here. Couldn't show weakness. But the exhaustion was crushing her, and her daughter was sick, and the hospital had called again about the overdue balance, and she had $17 in her checking account, and the front doors opened. The temperature in the room changed. Elena felt it even through her panic. A shift in atmospheric pressure, like the moment before lightning strikes. Conversations didn't just pause. They died. She looked up from the broken glass still cutting into her palms. The man in the doorway wasn't particularly tall, maybe 6 feet, mid-30s. But he carried himself like he was carved from something denser than bone. Black suit tailored so precisely it looked weaponized. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have sold luxury watches or ordered executions with the same expression. Lucien Devereaux. Elena knew the name the same way everyone in Chicago knew it. Whispered in back rooms, printed in sanitized newspaper profiles that never quite explained how a private equity investor commanded the kind of respect usually reserved for visiting heads of state. He moved through the lounge like a shark through still water, effortless, inevitable. His security team materialized around him, 3 men in dark suits who looked like they'd been chiseled from concrete and bad decisions. People moved. A city alderman Elena had served an hour ago literally stood up and relocated to a different booth rather than occupy space in Lucien Devereaux's peripheral vision. A real estate developer who'd groped Elena's hip last week suddenly became fascinated with his phone screen. Gerald forgot Elena existed. The manager was already hurrying forward, plastering on the smile he reserved for the clientele who could destroy him with a phone call. Mr. Devereaux, your usual table is, I'll sit at the bar. Lucien's voice was quiet, refined, the kind of voice that didn't need volume because everyone was already straining to hear it. He walked past Gerald without looking at him, past the booth, where a state senator was practically vibrating with terror, past everything and everyone until he reached the bar and settled onto a leather stool directly in front of where Elena was still kneeling in broken glass. Their eyes met. Elena forgot how to breathe. His eyes were dark, not brown, something deeper, like bourbon in shadow. They tracked across her face with the kind of attention that felt physical, not leering, not sexual, something stranger, something that made her feel like he was reading a language written beneath her skin. "You're bleeding." The observation was matter of fact. Elena looked down. Blood was seeping through the knee of her black pants where she'd knelt on glass. She hadn't even felt it. Her voice failed. She tried again. "I dropped a glass." "I can see that." Lucian's gaze shifted to Gerald, who'd materialized behind the bar wearing the expression of a man who'd just discovered an active grenade in his establishment. "Is this how you run your floor? Staff on their knees cleaning up in front of customers?" Gerald's face went white, then red. "Mr. Devereaux, I was just about to send someone else to handle it." Lucian's attention returned to Elena. "Stand up." It wasn't a request. Elena stood on shaking legs, very aware of the blood on her knee, the glass shard still embedded in her palm. The entire lounge watching this interaction like it was theater. Lucien pulled a handkerchief from his pocket, actual linen, monogrammed, and held it out. Elena stared at it. At him. This didn't make sense. Men like Lucien Devereaux didn't notice women like her. She was furniture, scenery, the person who poured drinks and disappeared. "Take it," he said quietly. She took it. The fabric was softer than anything she owned. She pressed it against her palm, watching her blood stain the expensive white linen. "What's your name?" "Elena." The word came out barely above a whisper. "Elena." He repeated it like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. "You work every night?" "Tuesday through Saturday." "Daughter's medical bills?" The question hit her like a backhand. Elena's throat closed. How did he? But of course he knew. Men like Lucien Devereaux didn't ask questions they didn't already have answers to. "Yes," she managed. Lucien nodded once. Then he stood, pulled a platinum money clip from his pocket, and set it on the bar between them. Even in the amber light, Elena could see the thickness of the bills tucked inside. "Keep the handkerchief," he said, "and that." He walked away before she could respond. His security team fell into formation around him. The lounge slowly remembered how to breathe as he disappeared into a private room in the back. Elena stared at the money clip. Gerald materialized at her elbow, his eyes locked on the platinum like it might evaporate. "What did he—" "I don't know." Elena's hands were shaking again, but for different reasons now. She carefully picked up the money clip. Heavy. Real. The bills inside were hundreds. She didn't count them. Couldn't. Her vision was blurring again, but this time from something that felt dangerously close to hope. "Put that away," Gerald hissed, "before someone sees." Elena shoved the money clip into her apron pocket. It felt like carrying a grenade. Wrong. Too much. Too dangerous. She finished her shift moving through a fog, poured drinks, smiled at customers, avoided Gerald's suspicious glances. The entire time, the weight in her pocket felt heavier than physics allowed. 3 hours later, she was in her car, a 15-year-old Honda with a taped-together bumper and a passenger window that didn't roll up anymore. When her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Elena Valles." The voice was instantly recognizable. Quiet. Certain. "You haven't counted the money yet." Her heart stopped. "How did you—" $10,000. Lucien continued like she hadn't spoken. "Enough to cover this month's treatment. Maybe next month too, if you're careful." Elena's breath came in short gasps. "I can't accept this." "You already did." "I'll give it back. I don't know what you want, but I can't." "I don't want anything." A pause. "Your daughter, Lily, 6 years old, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, currently in second-line treatment at Northwestern Memorial because the first protocol failed. You work 60 hours a week between the lounge and the diner on Halsted. Your ex-husband pays nothing. You've got $14,000 in medical debt, and it's growing faster than you can breathe." Each fact landed like a punch. Elena pulled over to the side of the road because she couldn't see through her tears anymore. "Why?" The word came out broken. "Because I can." His voice softened slightly. "And because you didn't ask." "Everyone asks." "You didn't." The line went quiet. Elena pressed her forehead against the steering wheel, trying to process this. Nothing in her life had prepared her for random acts of expensive kindness from Chicago's most dangerous man. There's no debt attached to this, Lucian said finally. No favors owed, no expectations. Use it for your daughter. That's all. I don't understand. You don't have to. A pause. But Elena? Yes? If you need more, call this number. He hung up. Elena sat in her dying car on the side of rain-soaked Halstead Street and counted the money with shaking hands. $10,000 exactly. Enough to keep Lily in treatment. Enough to sleep without nightmares about choosing between chemotherapy and rent. Enough to make her terrified of what she might owe a man like Lucien Devereaux. About 2 weeks passed. Elena tried to forget, tried to convince herself it was a strange, isolated incident. Rich people did weird things sometimes. Maybe Lucien Devereaux was just eccentric. Maybe he gave $10,000 to random bartenders as a tax write-off. She almost believed it. Then the hospital called. Ms. Valez, this is Northwestern Memorial. We're calling about Lily's treatment plan. Elena's stomach dropped. She was at work, the afternoon shift at the diner, before her night shift at the lounge. She stepped into the stockroom for privacy. What's wrong? Is she okay? She's fine. Better than fine, actually. The administrator sounded confused. We're calling because we've had a request from Dr. Sarah Chen to consult on Lily's case. Dr. Chen is... I know who she is. Elena sat down on a stack of flour bags before her legs gave out. Sarah Chen was the country's leading pediatric oncologist, featured in medical journals, gave TED Talks, definitely not the kind of specialist who saw patients on Medicaid. Well, Dr. Chen has specifically requested to review Lily's file and potentially take over her treatment protocol. She's willing to do it pro bono through a research grant. We just need your consent to transfer the records. Pro bono. Research grant. The words sounded real but felt like fairy tale logic. Elena knew exactly who was behind this. Yes, she heard herself say. Transfer the records. She called the number Lucien had given her as soon as her shift ended. He answered on the second ring. The doctor, Elena said without preamble. That was you. Dr. Chen is excellent. Your daughter deserves excellent. I can't pay you back for this. I'm not asking you to. Background noise suggested he was somewhere crowded. How is Lily responding to the current treatment? The question was so specific, so informed, that Elena had to sit down on the diner's back steps. You read her medical file. I read everything. No apology in his voice. The current protocol isn't working fast enough. Dr. Chen specializes in aggressive intervention for cases like Lily's. She'll want to start a new treatment plan within the week. Why are you doing this? Silence stretched between them. When Lucien spoke again, his voice carried something that might have been exhaustion. Because I can. And because watching people suffer when I have the resources to help is a choice I'm tired of making. It was the most human thing she'd heard him say. I want to meet you, Elena said before she could stop herself. Not at the lounge. Somewhere I can actually talk to you. Another pause. Tomorrow. There's a coffee shop on Damon and North Avenue. 2 in the afternoon. He hung up before she could respond. Elena stared at her phone, trying to understand what she'd just agreed to. Meeting Lucien Devereaux in person. Alone. Away from the safety of the lounge's public space. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt something closer to curiosity. Mosfokat. The coffee shop was aggressively ordinary. Local art on the walls, mismatched furniture, a barista with too many facial piercings and an art school vibe. The kind of place where Elena felt almost comfortable. Lucien looked completely out of place. He sat in the back corner wearing dark jeans and a black sweater that probably cost more than her rent. No security visible, though Elena suspected they were nearby. He was reading something on his phone, drinking black coffee from a ceramic mug that looked toy-sized in his hands. He looked up when she approached. Stood. The gesture was automatic, old-fashioned. Elena. Hi. She slid into the seat across from him, suddenly aware of her thrift store jacket and the fact that she hadn't had time to shower between shifts. This is weird, right? This is objectively weird. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Extremely weird. So why are we doing it? Because you asked to meet me, and I wanted to see you without broken glass between us. Elena wrapped her hands around the latte he'd ordered for her. Somehow he'd known she took it with oat milk and cinnamon. The observation should have been creepy. Instead, it felt like being seen. "Tell me about Lily," Lucien said. "Why?" "Because I'm investing a significant amount of money in her treatment. I'd like to know who she is beyond her diagnosis." "Fair enough." Elena took a breath. "She's obsessed with butterflies. Has been since she was 3. We used to go to the conservatory every weekend before she got sick. She'd spend hours just watching them. She has this theory that butterflies are magic because they get to be 2 completely different things in one lifetime." "Caterpillar to butterfly." "Yeah." Elena smiled despite herself. "She wants to be a scientist when she grows up. Or a princess. She hasn't decided which. She could be both." "That's exactly what I told her." Elena studied Lucien's face, trying to reconcile the man across from her with the reputation that preceded him. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone colder. Someone who'd make this feel transactional." "It is transactional." Lucien's expression didn't change. "I provide resources. You accept them. That's a transaction." "But you don't want anything in return." "I didn't say that." Elena's pulse spiked. There it was. The catch. "What do you want?" Lucien was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes holding hers with uncomfortable intensity. "I want you to stop working yourself to death. I want your daughter to get better. I want to watch someone's life improve because I decided to pay attention instead of looking away." "That's not how the world works." "It's how my world works." He leaned back slightly. "I've spent 15 years building power, making money, controlling things, and I've realized that none of it means anything if I don't use it for something beyond acquisition." Elena didn't know how to respond to that. Around them, the coffee shop continued its afternoon routine. Students typed on laptops. A young mother wrestled a toddler into a high chair. Normal life, completely disconnected from this surreal conversation. "People are scared of you," Elena said finally. "Yes." "Should I be?" Lucien's expression shifted into something unreadable. "Probably, but not for the reasons you're thinking." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm dangerous, Elena. I've done things that would horrify you, hurt people, destroyed lives, built my empire on violence and fear." He said it the way someone might describe the weather. "But I've never hurt anyone who didn't hurt someone first, and I don't prey on people who can't defend themselves." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "No. It's supposed to help you make an informed choice about whether you want my help." Elena processed that. The honesty was almost worse than deception would have been. At least lies gave her something to push against. "I don't have the luxury of choice," she said quietly. "My daughter is dying. You're offering help. I can either take it or I can let pride kill her." "That's not what I'm asking you to choose." "Then what are you asking?" Lucien leaned forward, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated. "I'm asking if you're willing to let someone care about what happens to you. Not because you owe me, not because I'm forcing you, but because I've decided that your survival matters to me." The words hung between them like smoke. "Why me?" Elena's voice came out barely above a whisper. "You could help anyone, fund entire hospitals. Why am I worth your attention?" "Because when I walked into that lounge 2 weeks ago, you were the only person in the room who looked real." Lucien's voice dropped lower. "Everyone else was performing, playing roles. You were just trying to survive with your dignity intact, and you were failing." Jesus. "I don't need gratitude, Elena. I need you to accept that someone is paying attention now. Can you do that?" She should say no, should walk away from whatever this was before it consumed her. But her daughter was sick, and she was drowning, and this man, this dangerous, impossible man, was offering her air. "Okay," she whispered. Something shifted in Lucien's expression. Relief, maybe. Or satisfaction. "Dr. Chen will want to see Lily next Wednesday. I'll have my driver pick you both up." "I can drive myself. Your car's transmission is dying. I can hear it in the background when you talk to me on the phone." Elena felt her face flush. "You don't have to." "I know." He stood, dropping cash on the table for both their drinks. "But I'm going to anyway. Get used to it. He walked away before she could argue. Disappeared into the Chicago afternoon like he'd never been there at all. Elena sat alone with her cooling latte, trying to understand what she'd just agreed to. Champed. Dr. Chen was terrifying in the way competent people often are. Sharp eyes, sharper questions, the kind of focused intensity that made Elena feel like her daughter's entire future was being calculated in real time. Lily, for her part, was fascinated. "Are you going to fix me?" she asked from the examination table, her thin legs swinging. Dr. Chen smiled, the first warm expression Elena had seen from her. "I'm going to try very hard to make you better, but I need your help. Can you be brave for me?" "I'm already brave," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Mommy says I'm the bravest person she knows." "Your mommy is right." The examination took 2 hours. Blood draws, imaging, detailed questions about symptoms and side effects. Elena held Lily's hand through all of it, trying not to think about the fact that this world-class medical attention was happening because Chicago's most dangerous man had decided to notice her. Afterward, Dr. Chen pulled Elena aside while Lily was with a nurse getting a lollipop. "Her current protocol isn't working well enough," Dr. Chen said bluntly. "The cancer is resistant. We need to move to a more aggressive treatment, combination therapy with a new immunotherapy drug that just finished phase 3 trials." Elena's stomach dropped. "How much does that cost?" "It's expensive, but you don't need to worry about that. This is covered under the research grant." Research grant. Right. The polite fiction they were all maintaining. "Will it work?" Elena asked. "It has a 73% success rate in cases like Lily's, which is significantly better than the 40% we're looking at with her current treatment." Dr. Chen's expression softened slightly. "I can't make promises, but this gives her a real chance." A real chance. Better odds than Elena had allowed herself to hope for in months. "When do we start?" "Next week. I'll have my office coordinate everything." Dr. Chen paused. "Miss Valles, I don't know who arranged this consultation, but they clearly care very much about your daughter's outcome. You're lucky to have that kind of support." Lucky. Elena almost laughed. This didn't feel like luck. It felt like falling into something she didn't understand and couldn't control. That night, after Lily was asleep, Elena called Lucien's number. "Dr. Chen says the new treatment starts next week." "I know. She sent me her assessment." "Of course she did." "Thank you." "You don't have to keep thanking me." "Yes, I do. You're saving my daughter's life." Silence stretched between them. When Lucien spoke again, his voice carried something Elena couldn't quite identify. "Can I see you tomorrow?" "Why?" "Because I want to. Is that enough of a reason?" No, it wasn't. But Elena heard herself say, "Where?" "My apartment. I'll send a car." Every instinct Elena possessed screamed at her to say no. Meeting Lucien in coffee shops was one thing. Going to his apartment was something else entirely. A line she couldn't uncross. "Okay," she said anyway, because she was tired of pretending she wasn't curious about this man who'd inserted himself into her life with surgical precision. Tired of pretending she didn't feel something when he looked at her like she mattered. 8:00, Lucien said. "And Elena?" "Yeah? Wear whatever you want. This isn't a performance." He hung up, leaving her standing in her cramped kitchen, wondering what the hell she'd just agreed to. Ultam. The car that picked her up wasn't what she expected. Not a limousine, just a black sedan with a quiet driver who offered her water and didn't ask questions. The drive took them north along Lake Shore Drive, past neighborhoods Elena had only seen from highway distance. Lucien's building stood at the edge of the Gold Coast, all glass and steel and money. The doorman knew her name before she introduced herself. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt like ascending into a different atmosphere. When the doors opened, Lucien was waiting. He'd traded his usual dark suits for jeans and a simple black shirt, barefoot. The casual intimacy of it made Elena's breath catch. "Hi," she managed. "Hi." He stepped back, letting her into a space that was somehow exactly what she expected and nothing like it at the same time. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. Minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her car. Art on the walls that Elena recognized from museum visits. Actual pieces, not prints. But there were also books everywhere. Stacks of them on tables, shelves packed tight, reading glasses abandoned on a leather chair. It felt lived in despite the expensive staging. Can I get you something to drink? Lucian asked. Wine, if you have it. He poured them both glasses of red that probably cost more per bottle than she made in a week. They stood by the windows looking out at Chicago's glittering skyline. Do you ever get tired of the view? Elena asked. No, it reminds me how far I've come. He glanced at her. I grew up in Pilsen, shared a one-bedroom apartment with my mother and two brothers. We could see the skyline from there too, but it felt like looking at a different planet. The detail surprised her. Lucian rarely offered personal information. What happened to your family? My mother died when I was 15. Cancer, actually. His voice stayed level. My brothers went into foster care. I went into the streets. Elena's chest tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. He took a drink. But that's why I understand what you're going through. Watching someone you love fight a disease you can't control, feeling helpless. I remember that feeling very clearly. Is that why you're helping me? Because of your mother? Partially. Lucienne turned to face her fully. And partially because the first time I saw you, you looked like you were carrying the weight of the entire world and refusing to let it crush you. That kind of strength is rare. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't feeling brave, it's continuing when you're terrified. They were standing closer now, close enough that Elena could see the faint scar along Lucien's jawline, the darker flecks in his eyes. Close enough to feel dangerous. What do you want from me? The question came out softer than she intended. Really? Lucien set his wine glass down, reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and touched her face, just his fingertips along her cheekbone. The gesture was gentle in a way that made her throat tight. I want you to stop being afraid of me, he said quietly. I want to watch your daughter get better. I want to have conversations with you that don't involve medical bills or treatment protocols. I want... He stopped himself. What? Something I have no right to want. Elena's heart was hammering. Tell me anyway. Lucien's hand dropped. He stepped back, putting careful distance between them. This isn't why I asked you here. I'm not trying to seduce you into feeling obligated. I know. Do you? Yes? And somehow she did. Whatever this was between them, it didn't feel transactional. It felt like something more complicated, more dangerous. I should go, Elena said, even though every part of her wanted to stay. Lucien nodded. I'll have the driver take you home. But as Elena moved toward the elevator, his voice stopped her. Elena. She turned. Your ex-husband. Lucian's expression had gone cold. He's been asking around about Lily's medical trust, specifically whether you have one. Ice flooded Elena's veins. Raphael? How do you know that? Because I make it my business to know things that affect people I care about. No apology in his voice. He's going to try to claim joint custody. Use it to access any funds he thinks you have. I don't have funds. Everything is going to treatment. He doesn't know that. And he doesn't care about Lily. He cares about what he thinks he can take from you. Elena felt sick. Raphael had disappeared 3 years ago, right after Lily's diagnosis. Couldn't handle having a sick kid, sent her divorce papers through a lawyer, and vanished. What do I do? Lucien's voice dropped to something that made her spine straighten. Let me handle it. What does that mean? It means Raphael Cruz will get one conversation explaining that approaching you or Lily again would be the worst mistake of his worthless life. And then he'll disappear, permanently, if necessary. The word should have horrified her. Instead, Elena felt something warm and fierce unfurl in her chest. Safety. For the first time in 3 years, someone was offering to protect her. Not with empty words, but with the kind of power that actually changed outcomes. Don't hurt him, she heard herself say. Just make him go away. Lucien's expression shifted. Are you sure? Yes. Even though he abandoned your daughter when she needed him most? Even though? Elena met his eyes. Because I don't want Lily growing up knowing her father died because of her. Something like respect crossed Lucien's face. All right, I'll handle it your way. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen me work. The elevator doors opened. Elena stepped inside, then turned back. Lucien. Yes? I'm not afraid of you. The doors closed before he could respond, but Elena saw his expression shift, surprise, maybe, or something that looked dangerously close to relief. She rode the elevator down, walked through the lobby, climbed into the waiting car. The driver pulled smoothly into traffic. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lucian's number. That was a lie. You're terrified, but I appreciate you trying. Elena smiled despite herself. Typed back, maybe I'm just good at hiding it. You're not. I can see it every time you look at me. But that's okay. Fear means you're paying attention. Should I be paying attention? Yes. The single word felt weighted with everything they weren't saying. Elena stared out at the Chicago night, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. Wondering if being noticed by Lucien Devereaux was the best thing that had ever happened to her, or the most dangerous. 2 days later, Raphael called her. His voice was shaking. Elena, we need to talk. About what? About me staying the fuck away from you and Lily for the rest of my life. He was breathing hard. I don't know who you're connected to now, but tell them I got the message. Tell them I'm gone. He hung up. Elena sat in her car outside the diner, staring at her phone. Lucien hadn't called, hadn't texted, but somehow Raphael had received exactly the conversation Lucien promised. Her phone buzzed. Another text. Problem solved. He won't bother you again. Elena typed back with shaking hands. What did you do? Had a conversation. He understood. Just a conversation? Elena. You told me not to hurt him, so I didn't, but he knows what will happen if he breaks our agreement, like they were partners in this. Like her word carried weight in Lucien's world. Thank you. Stop thanking me. This is what protection looks like. Protection. The words settled into her chest like warmth. For the first time since Lily's diagnosis, Elena felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. And underneath that, something more dangerous. Trust. 3 weeks after Raphael's phone call, Elena woke up to find a man sitting in her kitchen. Not just any man. One of Lucian's security team, Marcus, the one with the scar bisecting his left eyebrow, and hands that looked like they could crack walnuts without effort. Elena's scream died in her throat when she saw Lily at the table, completely unbothered, eating cereal and chattering about butterflies. Morning, Marcus said without looking up from his phone. His voice had the texture of gravel. Coffee's fresh, made it 10 minutes ago. Elena grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. Her heart was trying to punch through her ribs. What the fuck are you doing in my apartment? Language. Marcus nodded toward Lily, who was absorbed in her cereal and hadn't noticed her mother's panic. Boss assigned security detail. I'm the morning shift. Security detail. Elena's voice came out strangled. Lucien put a guard in my home without asking me? He asked. You didn't answer your phone last night. Marcus finally looked at her. His eyes were flat, professional. There was an incident. Someone tried to access Lily's medical records at Northwestern. We shut it down, but the boss wants eyes on you both until we identify who's behind it. The panic shifted into something colder. What kind of incident? The kind where someone who knows how to navigate hospital systems tried to pull your daughter's file, her treatment costs, and her medication schedule. Marcus stood, refilled his coffee. They got flagged by our monitoring system before they got anything useful. Our monitoring system. Like Lucien had embedded surveillance into the hospital's infrastructure. Elena's hands were shaking. I need to call him. He's expecting that. Number's on speed dial 2 on your phone now. He reprogrammed my phone? Last week when you left it charging at his apartment. Marcus said it like it was completely normal. Also installed tracking software. For safety. Elena wanted to throw something, wanted to scream, but Lily was right there, swinging her legs and humming, and creating a scene would only scare her daughter. She grabbed her phone and walked into her bedroom, closing the door harder than necessary. Lucien answered immediately. You met Marcus. You put an armed guard in my apartment without telling me. I told you there was a threat. You didn't take it seriously. So you just, what? Decided to invade my privacy and reprogram my phone and put surveillance on my daughter's medical records? Her voice was rising despite her best efforts to stay calm. Yes. No apology. Because someone is targeting Lily's information, which means they're targeting you. And I don't take chances with things I care about. You can't just do this, Lucian. You can't just insert yourself into every part of my life and make decisions without... I can. I did. And you're safer because of it. His voice hardened. Elena, I understand you're angry, but would you rather I asked permission and waited while someone potentially dangerous got closer to your daughter? The logic was infuriating because it made sense. Elena sat on her bed, pressing her free hand against her forehead. I hate this. I know. I hate feeling like I don't have control over my own life. I know that too. A pause. But right now, control is a luxury you can't afford. So let me carry that weight, just for a while. Elena's throat was tight. She hated how reasonable he sounded, hated more that part of her was relieved someone was watching out for them. Who's trying to access her records? We're working on it. Could be related to Raphael. Maybe he hired someone before I convinced him to disappear. Could be something else. I'll know more by tonight. And Marcus stays until then? Marcus and 2 others in rotation, 24-hour coverage. They'll be invisible to Lily, visible to anyone watching your building. This is insane. This is protection. Get used to the difference. He hung up before she could argue. Elena sat alone in her bedroom, listening to her daughter laugh at something Marcus said in the kitchen. The man assigned to guard them was making her kid laugh. The absurdity of it made her want to cry. Instead, she showered, dressed, and walked back into the kitchen wearing her armor of normalcy. Marcus was showing Lily pictures on his phone, butterflies apparently. He'd found some nature documentary screenshots. That one's a monarch, Lily said authoritatively. They migrate thousands of miles. They're very brave. Like you, Marcus said, without missing a beat. Lily beamed. Elena poured coffee with shaking hands and tried to pretend this was normal. Failed completely. Dr. Chen's new treatment protocol was brutal. Lily spent 3 days in the hospital every 2 weeks, hooked to IVs that pumped experimental drugs through her tiny body. She'd come home exhausted, nauseous, her skin pale, and her eyes too big in her thinning face. But the scans were improving. 6 weeks into treatment, Dr. Chen showed Elena the comparison images. The cancer markers were dropping, slowly, but definitely dropping. She's responding, Dr. Chen said. And for the first time since diagnosis, Elena heard hope in a doctor's voice. Better than I expected, actually. If this trajectory continues, we're looking at potential remission within 4 to 6 months. Remission. The word felt holy. Elena cried in the hospital bathroom for 20 minutes, muffling the sound with her hands so Lily wouldn't hear. When she came out, Lucien was there. He'd started appearing at the hospital during Lily's treatment days. Never made a production of it. Just showed up, sat with them, read to Lily when she was too tired to talk. He'd become part of their routine so gradually that Elena hadn't noticed until he was essential. Dr. Chen told me, he said quietly. Good news. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. Lucien stepped closer. They were in a hallway near the pediatric wing, surrounded by tired parents and beeping machines, and the antiseptic smell that meant hope and horror in equal measure. You need to eat, he said. When's the last time you had a real meal? I don't remember. Come on. He touched her elbow, guiding her toward the elevator. There's a decent restaurant 2 blocks away. Lily's asleep. Marcus is with her. We have an hour. Elena should have argued, should have stayed, but exhaustion was making her bones feel liquid, and the idea of sitting down somewhere that didn't smell like hospital made her want to weep with gratitude. The restaurant was small, quiet. The kind of place where Chicago's professional class ate expensive salads and pretended to relax. Lucien ordered for both of them, somehow knowing she preferred chicken to fish, that she hated cilantro, that she needed carbs more than she needed healthy right now. The food arrived. Elena stared at it, suddenly nauseous. I can't eat this. Yes, you can. Lucien, eat. His voice was gentle but immovable. You've lost 8 pounds in the last month. You're running on caffeine and fear. That stops now. Elena picked up her fork with shaking hands, took a bite. The food tasted like dust and obligation. Lily asked me something yesterday, she said after swallowing. She asked if you were going to be her new daddy. Lucien went very still. What did you tell her? I told her you were a good friend who was helping us. Elena set down her fork. She said, "Good friends don't look at mommies the way you look at me. She's perceptive. She's 6. Smart 6. Lucian leaned back, studying her. "How do I look at you?" Elena's face heated. "Like, I don't know, like you're memorizing me, like I'm going to disappear if you blink." "You might?" The honesty in his voice made her chest ache. "I'm not going anywhere." "Everyone says that." "Then they leave anyway." The vulnerability in those words hit her sideways. This was Lucien without his armor, the boy who'd lost his mother, who'd watched his family disintegrate, who'd learned that permanence was a lie people told themselves. "I'm not everyone," Elena said quietly. "No, you're not." He reached across the table, covered her hand with his. The touch was warm, careful. "Which is why you terrify me more than anyone I've ever met." "I terrify you?" "Yes." The woman working 2 jobs and barely keeping her head above water terrifies Chicago's most dangerous man. That's what you're telling me. "Yes." No humor in his voice. "Because everyone else wants something from me. Power, money, protection, fear. You just want your daughter to live, and somehow that's the most dangerous thing anyone's ever asked me for." Elena didn't know how to respond to that. Around them, people ate and talked and lived their normal lives, completely unaware they were sitting 20 feet from a man who could destroy their careers with a phone call. "I went back to school," she said instead. "Online classes, education degree. I figure if Lily gets better, when she gets better, I should have something more stable than bartending." Lucien's expression shifted, something that looked like pride. "That's good. It's terrifying. I haven't been in school in 10 years. You'll be excellent at it." "How do you know?" "Because you already teach Lily everything. I've watched you explain photosynthesis using kitchen supplies and turn grocery shopping into a math lesson. You're a natural." The observation made her throat tight. "You pay too much attention." "I pay exactly the right amount of attention." His thumb traced across her knuckles. "That's my job." "Your job?" "Taking care of you, keeping you safe, making sure you have everything you need to survive this." He said it like it was obvious. "What did you think this was?" "I don't know. Charity? Guilt?" "It was charity at first, then it became something else." Elena's heart was hammering. "What?" Lucien pulled his hand back, picked up his water glass. "We should get back. Lily will wake up soon." "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Say something important and then retreat." Elena leaned forward. "You don't get to keep telling me you care, and then refusing to explain what that means." "You know what it means. Say it anyway." Lucien's jaw tightened. His eyes went dark with something that made Elena's pulse spike. "You want me to say that I think about you constantly? That I rearranged my entire operation to make sure you're protected? That watching you fight for your daughter's life made me realize I've spent 15 years building an empire and forgetting what it feels like to care about something real?" The words hit like a physical force. "You want me to say that I'm obsessed with you?" Lucien continued, his voice dropping lower. "That I've memorized the way you take your coffee and the fact that you bite your thumbnail when you're stressed, and that you smell like vanilla and exhaustion? That I lie awake at night planning ways to make your life easier, because the alternative is admitting I'm falling in love with someone I have no right to want?" The restaurant noise faded to white static. Elena couldn't breathe. Lucien stood abruptly. "We should go." "Lucien, not here, not now." His voice was tight. "Not when I can't—" He stopped himself. "Let's go." They walked back to the hospital in silence. Elena's mind was screaming. Lucien loved her, or was falling in love with her, or something equally catastrophic that she absolutely could not process while her daughter was 3 floors up fighting cancer. But the knowledge sat in her chest like fire. When they reached Lily's room, Marcus was reading her a story about butterflies. Lily was awake, smiling, holding a stuffed monarch Lucien had brought her last week. "Mommy, Mr. Lucien!" She reached for both of them. "Marcus says butterflies can see colors we can't even imagine. Isn't that magic?" "Very magic," Elena managed. Lucien sat in the chair beside Lily's bed. His face had smoothed back into its usual careful control, but Elena could see the tension in his shoulders. She sat on Lily's other side, holding her daughter's hand, trying to reconcile the man who just confessed something terrifyingly intimate with the man currently debating butterfly migration patterns with a 6-year-old. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lucien. I shouldn't have said that. She typed back, Why not? Because now you know. And knowing changes everything. Maybe I wanted to know. Did you? Elena looked up, met his eyes across Lily's bed. Her daughter was falling asleep again, worn out from excitement. Yes, she typed. Lucien read the message. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes shifted. We'll talk later. When Lily's asleep and we're not in a hospital. Okay. Elena? Yeah? I meant what I said. Every word. She didn't respond. Couldn't. Just sat there holding her daughter's hand while the man she was definitely falling for watched them both with an expression that looked like reverence and terror in equal measure. 2 weeks later, everything went to hell. Elena was closing up the Velvet Rose, her last shift before she quit for good to focus on Lily's treatment in school, when Raphael walked through the door. He looked worse than she remembered. Thinner, grayer. His eyes had the hollow look of someone who'd been living on fear and bad decisions. Marcus materialized from the shadows immediately, his hand inside his jacket where Elena knew he kept a gun.
Stop, Raphael said, holding up both hands. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need to talk to her. 5 minutes. You were told to stay away, Marcus said flatly. That wasn't a suggestion. I know, Raphael's voice cracked. But she needs to know something about who's been trying to access Lily's records. Please. Elena's stomach dropped. Let him talk. Marcus didn't move. Boss said, I don't care what Lucien said. If Raphael knows something about the threat, I need to hear it. She met Raphael's eyes across the empty lounge. You've got 3 minutes. Start talking. Raphael stumbled forward. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 weeks. It's my brother, Vincent. He's been asking questions about Lily, about her treatment, about whether there's money involved. Vincent Cruz. Elena remembered him vaguely. Raphael's older brother, the one who'd done time for fraud, who'd always made her skin crawl at family gatherings. Why would Vincent care about Lily? Because he thinks you're sitting on a trust fund. Raphael's laugh was bitter. He heard through someone that a rich guy was paying for Lily's treatment. Vincent got it in his head that you and I must have some kind of medical settlement or insurance payout. He wanted me to help him access it. There is no trust fund. Every dollar goes straight to the hospital. I know that now. I told him that. He didn't believe me. Raphael's hands were shaking. He's desperate, Elena. He owes money to some very bad people. He thinks if he can prove there's money attached to Lily's care, he can use custody claims to access it. Marcus was already on his phone, probably alerting Lucien. Elena felt cold spreading through her chest. What did you tell him? I told him to fuck off. I told him Lily was sick, and he needed to leave you alone. Raphael's voice broke. But he didn't listen. He hired some guy to hack the hospital records. I only found out yesterday. I came here as soon as I knew. Why should I believe you? Because... Raphael's face crumpled. Because I'm a piece of shit father who abandoned my daughter when she needed me most. Because I deserve everything Devereaux's people threaten me with. But Vincent is worse than me, and he's coming for you, and you need to know. Elena processed that. Marcus was talking in low, urgent tones on his phone. Gerald, the manager, was watching from behind the bar with wide eyes. Where's Vincent now? Marcus asked, lowering his phone. I don't know. He changes locations every few days, but he knows where Elena lives. He knows Lily's treatment schedule. Raphael looked at Elena with something that might have been genuine regret. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry for all of it. The lounge doors opened. Lucien walked in like winter given human form. 2 more security personnel flanked him. His expression was absolutely empty, which Elena had learned meant he was furious beyond language. Raphael went pale. I came to warn. I know what you came to do. Lucien's voice was quiet, deadly. Marcus briefed me 30 seconds ago. He crossed the floor in smooth strides, stopped directly in front of Raphael. The height difference wasn't dramatic, but Lucien's presence made Raphael look like a child. You were told, Lucien said softly, that approaching Elena again would have consequences. Were those instructions unclear? No, but Then why are you here?
Because my brother is targeting her and Lily. I thought she should know. Lucien was silent for a long moment. Elena could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Finally, he nodded once. Thank you for the information. Now leave. That's it? What were you expecting? A reward? Lucien's smile was terrible. You abandoned your sick daughter. You only came here tonight because your brother's actions triggered your guilty conscience. Those facts don't earn you redemption. They earn you the privilege of walking out of here alive. Don't waste it. Raphael looked at Elena one last time. She couldn't read his expression, didn't particularly want to. Take care of her, Raphael said to Lucien. Lily, take care of her. I already am. Raphael left. Marcus followed him out, probably to make sure he actually departed. Lucien turned to Elena. Are you all right? No. Her hands were shaking. Vincent knows where we live. He knows Lily's schedule. He's dangerous. He's also predictable. We'll find him within 24 hours. And then what? Lucien's expression went cold. Then he'll understand that threatening you was the last mistake of his life. The certainty in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, Elena felt that same fierce warmth from before. Safety. I want to be there, she said. Lucien's eyes sharpened. What? When you find him. When you deal with him. I want to be there. Elena. He's targeting my daughter, using her illness to try and steal money that doesn't exist. I want to look him in the eye and tell him exactly what I think of that. This isn't a confrontation. This is... Lucien stopped himself. What? A threat? Violence? Whatever you're planning, I can handle it. Can you? Yes. They stared at each other across the empty lounge. Gerald had disappeared into the back, wisely deciding this wasn't his business. If I let you come, Lucien said slowly, you follow my rules. You don't speak unless I tell you to. You don't intervene. You just watch. Can you do that? Elena thought about Lily in her hospital bed, about the terror of watching her daughter fight for her life while Raphael's brother tried to profit from it. Yes, she said. Lucien studied her for a long moment, then nodded. We'll find him tonight. Be ready. San. They found Vincent Cruz in a motel on the outskirts of Cicero at 2 a.m. Elena rode in Lucien's car. Not the usual sedan, but something dark and anonymous. Marcus drove. 2 other vehicles followed. The convoy moved through Chicago's nighttime streets like sharks through dark water. Elena's heart was hammering so hard she could taste it. You can still change your mind, Lucien said quietly. They were sitting in the back seat, close but not touching. Wait in the car. You don't need to see this. I need to. Why? Because I'm tired of being helpless. Tired of letting other people fight my battles while I stay home and worry. She looked at him. You said I was strong. Let me prove it. Lucien's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. The motel was exactly what Elena expected. Peeling paint, flickering neon, the kind of place that rented by the hour and didn't ask questions. Marcus pulled into the parking lot, cut the engine. Room 114, he said. 2 occupants. Vincent and a woman, probably a girlfriend. No visible weapons, but assume he's armed. He is, Lucien said. Vincent always carries, usually a knife, sometimes a gun if he's feeling ambitious. They exited the vehicles. 6 men total, plus Elena. She felt wildly out of place in her jeans and coat, surrounded by Lucien's team in their tactical clothing and concealed weapons. Lucien touched her elbow. Stay behind me. Don't speak. If anything happens, Marcus will get you out immediately. Understood? Elena nodded. They approached room 114. Marcus knocked. 3 sharp raps that sounded like authority. Shuffling inside, a woman's voice, worried. Then Vincent's, sharp and aggressive. Who is it? Building management. We've had complaints about noise. Fuck off, we're not making noise. Marcus looked at Lucien. Lucien nodded. The door came down with 1 kick. Vincent was reaching for something, a gun on the nightstand, when 2 of Lucien's men grabbed him, slammed him face first onto the bed. The woman screamed, scrambling backward. Out, Lucien said to her. His voice was calm. Take your things and go. What happens next isn't your concern. The woman grabbed her purse and ran. Smart. Vincent was cursing, struggling against the men holding him. Then he saw Lucien and went still. Devereaux. Vincent. Lucien walked into the room like he owned it. Probably did, knowing him. You've been busy. I don't know what you're... Don't insult me. You hired someone to hack Northwestern Memorial's systems. You've been surveilling Elena Velez's apartment. You attempted to establish a custody claim through a lawyer despite having no legal standing. Lucien's voice never rose above conversational. Should I continue? Vincent's face had gone gray. Look, I just needed... You needed money. I understand. We all have needs. Lucien pulled a chair over, sat down. What I don't understand is why you thought targeting a sick child and her mother was an acceptable way to meet those needs. There's a trust fund. I know there is. Some rich asshole's been paying for everything. That money should what? Go to you? A man who's never met the child in question? Lucien's voice dropped to something that made Elena's spine straighten. Explain your logic, slowly. Vincent's eyes darted around the room, landed on Elena. You're her, right? The mother? Elena stepped forward before she could stop herself. Yes. So tell your boyfriend here that we can work something out. I'll drop the custody thing if you just... If I what? Elena's voice was shaking. Give you money that doesn't exist? Let you terrorize my daughter's medical team? Explain to me exactly what you think I owe you. Vincent's face twisted. Raphael's my brother. That makes Lily my niece. Family should take care of a... You are not her family. The words came out harder than Elena intended. Family doesn't abandon children when they get sick. Family doesn't try to steal from medical funds. You're nothing. You're less than nothing. Lucien's hand touched her back. A brief, steadying pressure. Elena. She stopped, stepped back. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. Vincent looked between them. So that's it? You're just going to threaten me and expect me to go away? No, Lucien said. I'm going to give you a choice. He stood, walked to the nightstand, picked up Vincent's gun, a cheap 9mm that looked like it had seen better decades. Checked the chamber. 1 round. Elena's heart stopped. Lucien set the gun on the bed, equidistant between himself and Vincent. Option 1, Lucien said quietly. You reach for that gun, try to shoot me. My men kill you before you touch it, and we stage this as a robbery gone wrong. The Cicero police won't ask questions. Vincent's breathing was ragged. Option 2, you leave Chicago tonight. Disappear so completely that even I can't find you. Change your name. Start over somewhere far from here. Never speak Elena or Lily's name again. That's it? Just leave? That's it. What if I don't? Lucien's smile was terrible. Then we revisit option 1. Except this time, I don't make it quick. The room was silent except for Vincent's harsh breathing and the hum of cheap heating unit. Elena watched Vincent's face cycle through denial, anger, fear. Watched him look at the gun, at Lucien, at the 2 men still holding his arms. How do I know you won't just kill me anyway? Vincent asked. You don't. But I'm a man of my word. Choose to disappear, and you get to live. Choose anything else. Lucien shrugged. Well? Vincent's shoulders slumped. Fine. I'll go. Tonight. Within the hour. And Vincent? Lucien leaned closer. If I ever hear you've contacted Raphael, or asked about Elena, or even thought too hard about that little girl fighting cancer, I will find you, and option 1 will look merciful compared to what I do instead. Are we clear? Yes. Say it. We're clear. I'll disappear. I won't contact anyone. I'm gone. Lucien straightened, nodded to his men. They released Vincent, who slumped forward, gasping. Start packing, Lucien said. You have 30 minutes. They left. The motel parking lot was quiet under flickering lights. Elena's legs felt liquid. Marcus guided her to the car while Lucien spoke quietly with his team. When Lucien slid into the back seat beside her, Elena was shaking. You okay? He asked. I don't know. She looked at him.
Would you really have killed him? Yes. No hesitation, no apology. But you let me choose, Elena said slowly. Back at the restaurant, with Raphael, you asked what I wanted. That was different. Raphael is Lily's biological father. However worthless, he still exists in her life narratively. Vincent is just a threat. And threats get eliminated. Yes. Elena processed that. The casual certainty with which Lucien discussed ending lives. The fact that he'd given Vincent a choice only because it was pragmatic, not merciful. This was who he was, who he'd always been. And somehow, sitting in the back of a car at 2 a.m. after watching him threaten a man's life, Elena wasn't horrified. She was relieved. Thank you, she said quietly. Lucien looked at her. For what? For letting me be there. For not treating me like I'm too fragile to handle your world. You're not fragile. His voice was soft. You're the strongest person I know. They drove back through Chicago's sleeping streets. Marcus dropped them at Lucien's building instead of Elena's apartment, somewhere Vincent definitely didn't know about. The penthouse was dark except for the city lights reflecting through the windows. Lucien poured them both whiskey without asking. Elena drank. The burn helped. I need to tell you something, she said. Lucien waited. Earlier, at the hospital, when you said you were falling in love with me. Her hands were shaking around the glass. I didn't know how to respond because I was terrified. Of me? Of how much I wanted to say it back. Lucien went absolutely still. Elena set down her glass, walked to where he stood by the windows, close enough to feel the heat of him. I'm falling in love with you too, she said, and it scares me because you're dangerous, and I should protect Lily from this world, and everything about this is wrong. But I can't stop. I don't want to stop. Lucien's hand came up slowly, cupping her face. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Tell me to leave you alone, he said quietly. Tell me you don't want this. I'll disappear from your life. Keep paying for Lily's treatment from a distance, but stay away from you. Just say the word. No. Elena, I said no. She leaned into his touch. I don't want you to disappear. I want... She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Lucien kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't careful. It was hunger and fear and months of wanting compressed into a single point of contact. Elena kissed back, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. His arms wrapped around her, lifting her against him, and she made a sound that was half gasp, half plea. They stumbled backward, the couch, the windows. Elena wasn't sure, didn't care. Lucien's hands were everywhere, her face, her hair, her waist, like he couldn't decide what to hold on to. We should stop, he said against her mouth. Why? Because once we do this, I won't let you go. Ever. Good. That single word broke something in him. Lucien lifted her completely, carried her to the bedroom, laid her down on sheets that smelled like expensive detergent, and him. They shed clothes in desperate silence. Elena's hands shook as she unbuttoned his shirt, revealed the scars she'd suspected existed beneath his perfect tailoring. Bullet wounds, knife marks, the history of violence written across his skin. She kissed each one. Lucien made a sound like breaking, rolled them over so she was beneath him, caged by his arms, his eyes searching hers. Last chance, he said. After this, you're mine. I'm already yours. Elena pulled him down. I have been since the night you gave me that money clip. They came together like collision, like catastrophe, like two people who'd been drowning separately and finally found air. Afterward, Elena lay against Lucien's chest listening to his heartbeat slow. His fingers traced patterns on her shoulder. I meant what I said, he murmured. I'm never letting you go. Good. Even when this scares you, even when my world gets too dark. Especially then. Lucien pulled her closer, kissed her temple. You've ruined me, Elena Valles. Yeah? She smiled against his skin. How's that feel? Like redemption. They fell asleep tangled together while Chicago glittered below, unaware that somewhere in that city, a dangerous man had finally found something worth protecting more than power. 3 days later, Dr. Chen called with news that changed everything.
Elena was at Lucien's apartment. She'd been spending most nights there, returning to her place only to see Lily, who was still recovering at her grandmother's where Marcus maintained watch. "The latest scans are remarkable," Dr. Chen said, her voice carrying genuine excitement. "The tumors have shrunk by 63%. At this rate, we're looking at complete remission within 8 weeks, maybe sooner." Elena couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Remission, complete remission. Lucian took the phone when she started crying too hard to hold it steady. Listened, asked clinical questions, then hung up and pulled Elena into his arms while she sobbed. "She's going to be okay," Elena kept saying. "She's really going to be okay." "I know." Lucian's voice was rough. "I told you she would be." They held each other while the enormity of it settled. Lily was going to live, was going to grow up, was going to have a future. Elena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Congratulations on your daughter's recovery. You should know that Lucien Devereaux is not the man you think he is. Ask him about the North Side Massacre. Ask him how many people died so he could build his empire. Then decide if you want that man around your child." Elena's blood went cold. She showed Lucien the text. His expression shut down completely. "It's Vincent, or someone he hired before he disappeared." "Is it true?" "Yes." The single word hung between them. "Explain," Elena said. Lucien stood, walked to the windows. When he spoke, his voice was emotionless. 5 years ago, a rival organization tried to move into my territory. They killed 3 of my men, burned down 2 of my warehouses, sent me a message that they were taking over whether I liked it or not. Elena waited. I responded proportionately, tracked down their leadership, all 7 of them, had them killed in a single night. He turned to face her. "The news called it the North Side Massacre, attributed it to gang violence. The police never connected it to me." "How many people died?" 7 targets, 4 collateral." His eyes were flat. 11 total. 4 collateral, meaning innocent people, meaning people who just happened to be in the wrong place. Elena felt sick. "I won't apologize for protecting what's mine," Lucien continued. "Those men threatened my operation, my people, my life. I eliminated the threat. That's how this world works. 4 innocent people. There are no innocent people in this life. Only people who haven't been caught yet." "That's bullshit." Elena's voice was shaking. "You can't justify murder by key." "I'm not justifying anything. I'm telling you who I am, what I've done, what I'm capable of doing." Lucian's voice hardened. "You wanted me. This is what comes with that choice." Elena stared at him, at this man she'd fallen in love with, who'd saved her daughter, who'd just admitted to killing 11 people without remorse. "I need time," she said. "Time to what? Decide if you can stomach being with a monster? Don't do that. Don't make this about you feeling sorry for yourself." "I don't feel sorry for myself. I made choices. I live with them." He walked toward her. "But you need to decide if you can live with them too. Because I won't change, can't change. This is who I am." Elena's chest felt too tight. "I need to go." "Elena, no. I need space. I need to think." She grabbed her coat. "Don't call me. Don't follow me. Just give me time." She left before he could respond. Rode the elevator down in numb silence. Walked into the Chicago night, feeling like she was made of broken glass. Behind her, in the penthouse, Lucien stood alone and watched her walk away. And for the first time in 15 years, he felt genuinely afraid. Not of dying, but of losing the only thing that had ever made him want to be better than what he was. Elena didn't go home. She walked. Through Chicago's November cold that bit through her jacket like teeth. Past closed shops and empty streets where her breath came out in ragged clouds. Her phone buzzed constantly, Lucien calling, texting, probably tracking her location through whatever surveillance he'd embedded in her life. She turned it off. 11 people. 4 of them innocent. The words kept circling her brain like vultures. Lucien had said it without hesitation, without remorse. Like murder was just another business transaction that required periodic execution. Elena found herself at the conservatory where she used to bring Lily before the diagnosis. It was closed, dark, but she sat on the steps outside and stared at nothing. Her daughter was going to live. That should be everything, should eclipse every other consideration. But the man who'd saved Lily was also a killer who saw collateral damage as acceptable loss. Elena pressed her palms against her eyes until she saw stars. Her phone, still off, felt heavy in her pocket. She knew what turning it back on would bring. Lucien's messages, his justifications, the gravitational pull of a man who'd become essential to her survival. The smart choice was obvious. Walk away. Take Lily's recovered health and disappear into normal life. Find a teaching job. Raise her daughter far from men who killed 11 people and slept soundly afterward. But Elena's hands were shaking, and not from cold. She turned the phone back on. 17 missed calls. 23 texts. The most recent sent 4 minutes ago. I know you're at the conservatory. Marcus is watching from across the street to make sure you're safe. I won't approach unless you ask me to, but please don't stay out in the cold all night. Elena looked up. Across the street, barely visible in shadow, she caught the silhouette of Marcus leaning against a lamppost. Watching. Protecting. Even when she ran, Lucien's protection followed. She should be furious, should feel violated by the constant surveillance. Instead, she felt exhausted. Elena typed, "Come get me." Lucien arrived in 12 minutes, must have been close, waiting. He parked at the curb and got out slowly, like approaching something wild that might bolt. His face was carefully neutral, but Elena could see the tension in his shoulders. "You're freezing," he said. "I know." "Get in the car." Elena stood. Her legs were numb. Lucien caught her elbow when she stumbled, steadied her with careful hands that knew exactly how much pressure to apply without feeling possessive. The car was warm. Elena sank into the leather seat and closed her eyes. Lucien didn't start driving immediately, just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. "I won't apologize for my past," he said finally. "But I'll answer any question you have about it, completely honestly. No evasion." Elena opened her eyes. "How many people have you killed? Total?" "Personally, 17. Ordered killed? Somewhere around 50. I stopped counting after a while." The number hit like a physical blow. 50 people. Dead because Lucien decided they needed to be. "How do you live with that?" Her voice came out strangled. "Compartmentalization. Necessity. The understanding that I'm not a good man trying to do good things." He turned to look at her. "I'm a bad man who occasionally does good things when it serves my interests. There's a difference. And what am I? An interest? You're everything." The rawness in his voice made her chest ache. "You're the first person in 15 years who made me want to be something other than what I am. But wanting doesn't change reality. I'm still the man who ordered the Northside massacre. I'd do it again if the situation required it." Elena processed that. The honesty was brutal and somehow comforting. No pretty lies, no promises to change that he couldn't keep. "The 4 people who died," she said. "The collateral. Who were they?" Lucien's jaw tightened. 2 girlfriends of targets, a bartender, a driver." "Did you know they'd be there?" "Intelligence suggested the possibility. I determined the risk was acceptable." His voice stayed level. "That's the calculation I made. Eliminate 7 people actively trying to kill me, even if it meant 4 others died in the process." "That's not a calculation. That's murder." "Yes." No defense, no justification, just acknowledgement. Elena stared at him, at this man who'd saved her daughter's life and killed 4 innocent people with the same decisive certainty. "I don't know if I can reconcile those 2 things," she said quietly. "The Lucien who reads to Lily and the Lucien who orders executions. You don't have to reconcile them. They're the same person. I contain both." He reached over, took her cold hand in his warm one. "But I need you to decide if that's something you can live with. Because I won't pretend to be better than I am. Won't hide the darkness to keep you comfortable." "What if I decide I can't?" Pain flashed across his expression. "Then I'll step back. Continue funding Lily's treatment from a distance. Make sure you're both protected. But I'll disappear from your personal life." "Just like that?" "No, not just like that. It would destroy me." His thumb traced across her knuckles. "But I'd do it anyway. Because you deserve the choice." Elena looked down at their joined hands. Killer's hands holding hers. Hands that had also held her daughter gently, poured her coffee, traced patterns on her skin in the dark. "I need more time," she said.
Take it. And I need you to keep your distance. No calls, no texts, no surveillance. Give me actual space to think. Lucien's hand tightened around hers, then released. How long? I don't know. A week? 2?
2 weeks. He said it like accepting a death sentence. But Marcus stays on Lily, non-negotiable. Whatever happens between us, she stays protected. Okay? They sat in silence. The car's heater hummed. Outside, Chicago's late-night traffic was sparse. I should take you home, Lucien said finally. Yeah. He drove her to her apartment, walked her to the door like a gentleman from another era, stood in the hallway while she found her keys. Elena, she turned. I love you. That's not conditional on whether you choose me, it's just true. The words broke something in her chest. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice, and went inside. Through the door, she heard his footsteps retreat. The elevator ding, silence. She slid down the wall and cried until she had nothing left. The next 10 days were strange. Lily came home from her grandmother's healthier than Elena had seen her in months. The new treatment was working miracles. Color in her cheeks, energy to play, hair starting to grow back in soft patches. Dr. Chen confirmed what they'd hoped. Full remission was imminent. Another month of treatment, then monitoring. Lily was going to be okay. Elena should have been euphoric. Instead, she felt hollow. She went through motions, took Lily to appointments, studied for her online classes, worked her final shifts at the Velvet Rose. Everything felt muffled, like living underwater. Marcus was still there. Different shifts, different faces, but always someone watching from a distance. Lucien keeping his promise even from exile. Elena didn't see him, didn't hear from him. The silence was what she'd asked for, and it felt like suffocation. On day 11, her mother called. Elena, mija, we need to talk. Her mother's voice carried an edge that made Elena's stomach drop. They'd been estranged since the divorce. Her mother had taken Raphael's side, called Elena selfish for leaving him. They only spoke about Lily's medical updates now. What's wrong? I had a visitor yesterday, a man asking questions about you and Lily. Elena went cold. What kind of man? Professional, expensive suit. Said he was from Child Protective Services, investigating your living situation. Her mother's voice sharpened. But I've worked with CPS for 20 years. He wasn't one of theirs. What did he ask? About your income, your work schedule, whether you could adequately care for Lily, whether you had any concerning relationships. A pause. Specifically, he asked about Lucien Devereaux. Elena's heart was hammering. What did you tell him? Nothing. I told him to leave. Her mother sighed. Elena, what have you gotten into? Who is this man? I don't know, but I'll find out. She hung up and immediately broke her promise to Lucien, dialed his number. He answered instantly. Elena, someone's investigating me, pretending to be CPS, asking about you. When? Yesterday, at my mother's house. Silence. Then Lucien's voice, harder than she'd ever heard it. I'll handle it. Where are you? Home. Lily's with my neighbor. Stay there. I'm sending Marcus up. Don't open the door for anyone else. Lucien, what's happening? I don't know yet, but someone's making a move against you to get to me. His voice dropped. I'm sorry. This is exactly what I was trying to protect you from. He hung up. Marcus arrived 4 minutes later, knocked their predetermined pattern. Elena let him in, and he immediately started checking windows, sight lines, exit routes. Boss thinks it's the Kozlov organization, Marcus said. Russian group that's been trying to move into Chicago for the past 6 months. Lucien's been blocking them. Why target me? Marcus looked at her like the answer was obvious. Because you're his weakness. Everyone knows it. Elena's stomach turned. She'd become a target just by existing in Lucien's orbit. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer that, Marcus said. Elena answered it. Ms. Valez. The voice was accented. Russian, maybe, cultured. My name is Dmitry Kozlov. I believe you know who I am. I don't. Then let me introduce myself. I'm the man who's going to destroy everything Lucien Devereaux loves, starting with you. Elena's hand tightened around the phone.
Marcus was already on his own phone, probably alerting Lucien. What do you want? What do you... Leverage. Devereaux has been very stubborn about sharing Chicago. I need him to understand the consequences of that stubbornness. Dimitri's voice was pleasant, conversational. You and your daughter make excellent consequences. Touch Lily, and I'll kill you myself. Such fire. I see why he's fascinated. A pause. I have no interest in harming a sick child, but I'm very interested in harming you. Unless Devereaux agrees to meet with me. Tonight. Alone. He won't do that.
Oh, I think he will. Especially when I send him proof that I'm serious. The line went dead. Elena lowered the phone with shaking hands. He's going to... The window exploded. Glass rained inward. Marcus threw himself at Elena, taking them both to the ground. Something whistled overhead. Bullets, Elena's brain supplied distantly, and punched holes in the wall behind where she'd been standing. Marcus was dragging her toward the hallway, his body covering hers. More shots. The methodical crack of a rifle from somewhere across the street. They made it to the hallway. Marcus shoved her into the bathroom. Stay down! Don't move! He was on his phone, barking orders. Elena pressed herself against the bathtub, ears ringing, trying to understand what was happening. Someone was shooting at her apartment, where Lily could have been. The shooting stopped. Sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus was still talking in rapid-fire sentences, coordinating something. Elena's phone buzzed, a text from the same unknown number. That was a warning. Next time, I won't miss. Tell Devereaux he has 2 hours to meet me at the location I'm sending him, or I'll send people to your daughter's school. A second text arrived. A photo. Lily. Outside her school, taken this morning, a red circle drawn around her head. Elena stopped breathing. Marcus took one look at her face and grabbed the phone. His expression went flat. Fuck. He knows where she goes to school, Elena whispered. He took that photo this morning. He's been watching her. Boss needs to see this. No. Elena stood on shaking legs. No, Lucien can't meet with them. It's obviously a trap. He'll do it anyway, for you. Then stop him. Tell him I said, It won't matter what you said. Someone threatened you and Lily. He'll burn Chicago to the ground if that's what it takes to keep you safe. The truth of that settled like ice in Elena's chest. She'd become Lucien's weakness, the leverage his enemies would use to destroy him, and he'd let them. Would walk into any trap, face any danger, because she and Lily mattered more to him than his own survival. Elena thought about 11 dead people, about Lucien's calm certainty when he described acceptable losses, about the man who'd built an empire on violence and fear. That man wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice himself for her. She couldn't let that happen. Call him, Elena said. Tell him I'll do the meeting instead. Marcus stared at her. What? Dimitri wants leverage against Lucien. I'm that leverage, so I'll go talk to him, negotiate, whatever it takes to buy time for you to find where Lily is and get her somewhere safe. Boss will never agree to that, so don't ask his permission. Elena met Marcus's eyes. You said I'm Lucien's weakness. That makes me valuable. Dimitri won't kill me if he thinks he can use me. You don't know that. No, but I know Lucien will die if he walks into that meeting, and I can't... Her voice broke. I can't let that happen. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded once. I'll make the arrangements, but if this goes wrong, Boss is going to kill me himself. Then we better make sure it doesn't go wrong. The meeting location was a warehouse in the South Loop. Abandoned, industrial, the kind of place where bodies got found months later. Elena rode there with Marcus and 2 other security personnel. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Lucien doesn't know yet, Marcus said. I told him we had Dimitri's location and we're moving to intercept. He's coordinating from his office. How long until he figures it out? 20 minutes, maybe 30, if we're lucky. Not enough time, but it would have to be. They pulled up to the warehouse. 2 black SUVs were already there. Armed men in tactical gear stood outside. Marcus touched Elena's arm. Wires active. We can hear everything. If things go bad, hit the floor. We'll come in shooting. Elena nodded, stepped out of the car on legs that felt like water. The armed men patted her down, found the wire immediately. Lose it, one of them said in Russian-accented English. Marcus's voice crackled in her ear.
Elena, don't. She pulled the wire out, dropped it on the ground. The men led her inside. The warehouse was mostly empty, concrete floors, exposed beams, industrial lighting that cast harsh shadows. At the center, a table with 2 chairs. Dmitry Kozlov sat in one of them. He was younger than Elena expected, maybe 40, handsome in the way certain predators are, sharp features, calculating eyes, the kind of smile that promised and threatened simultaneously. Ms. Valles, how unexpected. He gestured to the empty chair. Please, sit. Elena sat. Every instinct screamed at her to run. I was expecting Devereaux, Dmitry continued, but this is better, more intimate. What do you want? From you? Nothing you're not already giving me. He leaned back. You came here instead of allowing Devereaux to sacrifice himself. That tells me everything I needed to know. Which is? That he loves you enough to be destroyed by your death. Dmitry's smile widened. And you love him enough to try to prevent his. How romantic. Elena's throat was tight. If you're going to kill me, just do it. Kill you? Why would I waste such valuable leverage? Dmitry pulled out his phone, typed something. I'm going to keep you alive and comfortable while Devereaux tears Chicago apart trying to find you. Every hour he searches, he loses territory, loses men, loses control. He'll find me, eventually, but by then, I'll have consolidated enough power that it won't matter. Chicago will be mine, and Devereaux will be too broken to fight back. Elena realized with cold certainty that she'd made a terrible mistake. Dmitry wasn't interested in negotiation. He'd wanted exactly this, for her to walk into captivity thinking she was protecting Lucian. He'll kill you for this, she said quietly. He'll try. But grief makes people reckless, and reckless men make mistakes. Dmitry stood. Take her to the secondary location. Keep her comfortable. No harm comes to her, yet. The armed men moved forward. Elena tried to stand, to run, but hands grabbed her arms. Something pricked her neck, needle, syringe, chemical burn spreading through her veins. The world tilted. Dmitry's face swam in her vision. Tell Devereaux, she tried to say, but her tongue was thick. Tell him. Darkness swallowed her whole. Elena woke up in a room with no windows. Her head felt like it was splitting open. She was on a bed, actual bed, not floor, which was something. The room was small but furnished, lamp, chair, door that was definitely locked. She sat up too fast. Nausea rolled through her. She made it to the corner and vomited into what she desperately hoped was a toilet. When the world stopped spinning, she took inventory. Still wearing her clothes, no visible injuries, no idea how long she'd been unconscious. The door opened. A woman entered, older, severe, carrying a tray with water and crackers. Eat, she said in heavily accented English. Boss says you need strength. Where am I? Safe house. You stay here now. For how long? The woman shrugged. Until boss says different. She left. The door locked behind her. Elena stared at the crackers, at the bottle of water, at the room that was nice enough to not be a cell, but locked enough to definitely be a prison. She thought about Lily, about whether Lucien had gotten to her school in time, whether her daughter was safe, or if Dmitry had people there too. Her chest tightened until she couldn't breathe. Panic attack. She recognized the symptoms, forced herself to count breaths. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. It didn't help. She was trapped. Lily was potentially in danger. Lucien was about to do something catastrophically stupid trying to rescue her. And it was all her fault for thinking she could negotiate with a man who saw people as chess pieces. Time passed. Elena couldn't track it. The light stayed constant. No one came except the severe woman with food and water 3 times that might have been meals or might have been random intervals. Then the door opened and Dmitry walked in. Good. You're awake. He sat in the chair, crossed his legs. I wanted to have a conversation. Go to hell. Devereaux's already made that suggestion, along with several anatomically improbable threats. Dmitry smiled. He's been very vocal about what he'll do when he finds me. It's actually quite touching. What do you want from me? I want you to call him. Tell him you're safe. Tell him to stop tearing apart my operations looking for you. Why would I do that?
Because every hour he spends searching, more people die. My people. His people. Innocent bystanders caught in crossfire. Dmitri leaned forward. Make the call. Calm him down. And I'll consider releasing you unharmed once our business arrangement is finalized. Business arrangement. Chicago has room for 2 organizations. I'm willing to share territory if Devereaux agrees to terms, but he won't negotiate while he thinks I'm torturing you. Elena processed that. The logic was almost reasonable, except she didn't believe a word of it. You're going to kill me regardless, she said, once you get what you want from Lucien. Perhaps, or perhaps I'll keep my word. You'll never know unless you make the call. He held out a phone. Elena stared at it. At Dimitri's expectant expression. At the choice that wasn't really a choice. If she called Lucien in and told him to stop searching, he'd know something was wrong. Would push harder, get more reckless. If she didn't call, Dmitri might escalate, might hurt her to prove a point. Either way, she was trapped. I need proof Lily's safe first, Elena said. Dmitri nodded, typed something on his own phone. Turned the screen toward her. Video feed. Lily at school. Playing on the playground. Completely normal. Timestamp showed it was current. Today. This afternoon. Relief flooded through Elena so intensely she nearly sobbed. She's under surveillance but unharmed, Dmitri said. That continues as long as you cooperate. Understand? Elena understood. The threat was clear. Cooperate or Lily becomes a target. She took the phone, dialed Lucien's number with shaking hands. He answered before it finished the first ring. Elena. His voice was wrecked, absolutely destroyed. She could hear the fear underneath the control. I'm okay, she said. I'm safe. Dimitri's treating me well. Where are you? I don't know, somewhere with no windows, but I'm not hurt. I'm coming for you. I will burn this entire city down until… No, Elena interrupted. That's why I'm calling. You need to stop. Dmitri wants to negotiate. Territory sharing. If you just talk to him, he'll let me go. Silence. Long enough that Elena thought the connection had dropped. Then Lucien's voice, very quiet. He's listening. It wasn't a question. Yes, Elena said. And he's threatened Lily if you don't convince me to stand down. Yes. Okay. A breath. Put him on. Elena handed the phone to Dmitri. Devereaux, good to finally speak directly. Dimitri's voice was pleasant. Your lady friend is being quite cooperative. I appreciate that. Elena couldn't hear Lucien's response, but she watched Dimitri's expression shift. The pleasant mask slipped slightly. Threats are unnecessary. I'm offering fair terms. Another pause. Yes, I understand your position, but consider… His voice hardened. That's not a negotiation. That's suicide. He ended the call, looked at Elena with something that might have been respect. He's insane, Dmitri said. Completely insane. I offer him a peaceful resolution, and he tells me he's going to feed me my own organs while you watch. Despite everything, Elena felt warmth in her chest. That was Lucien. No negotiation with people who threatened what he loved. I warned you, she said. Yes, you did. Dmitri stood. Unfortunately, that means we're moving to phase 2. Which is? Sending him pieces of you until he agrees to meet my terms. Elena's blood went cold. Dmitri walked to the door, paused. Nothing fatal. Just painful enough to prove I'm serious. Starting with your left hand. You're right-handed, yes? You'll still be functional. Wait. Make another call tomorrow. Beg him to cooperate. Maybe then he'll listen. The door closed, locked. Elena sat alone in the windowless room, staring at her left hand, trying not to imagine what pieces meant in practical terms. This was it. The point where her choice to protect Lucien had led her. Trapped. Threatened with mutilation. Lily under surveillance. No rescue coming because Lucien wouldn't negotiate with terrorists. She thought about the North Side massacre, about Lucien's calm certainty when describing acceptable losses, about the fact that he'd told Dmitri to go to hell rather than compromise her safety. Elena looked around the room, at the locked door. The camera in the corner watching her. The windowless walls that might as well have been a tomb. And she realized something. She wasn't the helpless bartender anymore. Wasn't the woman who knelt in broken glass while powerful people ignored her. She'd spent months in Lucian's world, watched how he thought, how he operated, how he turned weakness into weapons. If she was going to survive this, she needed to stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like him. Elena stood, walked to the camera, stared directly into it. "Tell Dmitri I want to make a deal," she said clearly. "Not for my release, for his survival." Then she sat down and waited to see if anyone was actually listening. The severe woman returned 30 minutes later. She didn't speak, just unlocked the door and gestured for Elena to follow. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs as they walked through narrow corridors painted industrial gray. Her hands were sweating. Every part of her screamed to run, but armed guards stood at each intersection, their expressions flat and professional. They reached a door marked only with Cyrillic letters Elena couldn't read. The woman knocked twice, then opened it. Dmitri sat behind a desk that looked expensive and out of place in the utilitarian building. He was reading something on a tablet, didn't look up immediately. "She says she wants to make a deal," the woman said in Russian. "I heard." Dmitri set down the tablet, studied Elena with the kind of attention that felt like being dissected. "You have 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't proceed with removing your hand as planned." Elena's throat was dry. She'd rehearsed this in her head a dozen times, but the words felt fragile now, exposed to air and scrutiny. "Because you're making a strategic mistake," she said. "You think I'm Lucian's weakness, but you're wrong about what that means. Enlighten me. You see me as leverage to control him, make him negotiate, accept your terms." Elena forced herself to step closer to the desk. "But Lucian doesn't negotiate with people who threaten what he loves. You already know that. He told you he'd feed you your own organs." Colorful threat. Meaningless. "No. It's a promise. And the more you hurt me, the more certain that promise becomes." Elena leaned forward, hands flat on the desk. "Right now, he's contained, searching for me but following rules because there's still hope I'm unharmed. The moment you send him pieces of me, that containment shatters. He stops thinking strategically and starts thinking emotionally." Dmitri's expression didn't change. "And that helps me how?" "It doesn't. Emotional Lucian is the man who killed 11 people in one night, the man who built an empire on violence so efficient it scared every other organization out of Chicago." Elena's voice steadied. "You want to negotiate with calculated Lucien, the businessman, not the monster. And you keep the businessman by keeping me intact." Silence stretched. Dmitri tapped one finger against the desk, a metronome of consideration. "Interesting theory," he said finally. "But it assumes I care about controlling him long term. Perhaps I simply want to eliminate him, use you as bait to draw him into a trap. Then you'd have already done it. You'd have sent him my location with proof of life and waited for him to walk into your ambush." Elena straightened. "But you haven't. Because you're smart enough to know that killing Lucian creates a power vacuum. His organization doesn't die with him. It fractures into a dozen smaller, more violent groups fighting for territory. That's chaos you don't want." A small smile tugged at Dmitri's mouth. "You've been paying attention. I've been surviving in his world for 6 months. You learn fast or you die. And what exactly are you proposing?" Elena took a breath. This was the dangerous part. The moment where she either convinced him or confirmed her own execution. "Let me broker a real negotiation, not over the phone where he's enraged and you're posturing, face to face, neutral territory. I sit between you both and translate the actual terms instead of threats." "Why would he agree to that?" "Because I'd ask him to. Because he trusts me more than he trusts anyone else in Chicago." Elena held Dmitri's stare. "And because the alternative is watching this city burn while you two destroy each other over pride." Dmitri stood, walked around the desk. He was taller than Elena expected, and the way he moved reminded her uncomfortably of Lucian, that same predatory grace that spoke of violence held in careful check. "You're either very brave or very stupid," he said. "I'm terrified, but my daughter is being monitored by your people, and the man I love is about to do something catastrophically reckless. So I'm choosing strategy over fear." "The man you love." Dmitri's smile widened. "You said it very naturally. Does he know?" "Yes." "And still you think you can negotiate objectively between us?" "I'm not negotiating objectively. I'm negotiating to keep everyone I care about alive, including you. That surprised him. Elena saw it in the slight widening of his eyes, including me. You're not my enemy. You're just someone who made the mistake of threatening me to get to Lucien. If we can find a way past that mistake, everyone survives. You get your territory share. Lucien keeps his empire. I get my daughter back safely. Elena paused. Or we can continue down the current path where you torture me. Lucien destroys your operation in retaliation, and both organizations collapse in the chaos. Dmitri was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. Actual genuine laughter that sounded almost warm. Devereaux chose well. You're magnificent. He returned to his desk. I'll agree to your proposal, with conditions. Which are? The meeting happens tomorrow, location of my choosing. He comes with 2 security personnel maximum. If he brings more, you die immediately. Elena's stomach clenched, but she nodded. Agreed. Second condition. You call him now. Convince him this is legitimate and not me forcing you to lure him into a trap. He'll know the difference. Will he? You're very convincing. I'm half persuaded myself and I'm holding you prisoner. What's the third condition? Dmitri's smile faded. If the negotiation fails, you stay with me, permanently, as insurance against future aggression. The words landed like a punch. Elena understood immediately what he meant. She'd become a hostage, a living reminder to Lucien of what happened when negotiations broke down. And if it succeeds, then you walk away. No harm, no future threats. You have my word. A Russian mobster's word. Elena wanted to laugh at the absurdity of trusting that, but she was out of options. Let me make the call. What? Lucien answered on his first ring. His voice was ragged, like he'd been screaming. Elena, are you hurt? No, I'm fine. Lucien listened to me carefully. I'm listening. She could hear other voices in the background, men talking urgently, the sound of engines. He was moving, probably coordinating a search operation across half of Chicago. Dmitri's agreed to meet with you, face-to-face negotiation, tomorrow. I'll be there to mediate. Silence. Then, absolutely fucking not. It's the only way to end this without bloodshed. I don't care about bloodshed. I care about getting you out of there alive. Then agree to the meeting. 2 security personnel maximum. Neutral location. We talk like rational people instead of going to war. Elena. His voice dropped to something that sounded like breaking. He's forcing you to say this. I can hear it in your voice. You're terrified. Yes, I am terrified. But I'm also thinking clearly. She closed her eyes. You taught me something these past months. You taught me that power isn't just violence. It's knowing when violence serves your interests and when negotiation does. Don't quote my own philosophy at me. Then listen to the logic. If you storm whatever location you think I'm at, people die. Maybe me, maybe you. Definitely a lot of his men and yours. And at the end of it all, we're right back where we started, except with more bodies. Elena's voice steadied. Or you meet with him tomorrow. Hear his actual terms. And maybe we find a way out of this that doesn't require feeding him his organs. She heard him exhale, sharp, frustrated. Put Dmitri on. Elena handed the phone to Dmitri. Yes, Dmitri said. She couldn't hear Lucien's response, but she watched Dmitri's expression shift through calculation, amusement, irritation. Those terms are acceptable, Dmitri said finally. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'll send coordinates 1 hour before. And Devereaux? His voice hardened. If I see more than 2 men with you, Elena dies before you reach the door. Are we clear? He ended the call, handed the phone back to Elena. Well done. Very convincing. Dmitri walked to the door. You'll stay here tonight. Comfortable accommodation. Tomorrow we see if your gambit pays off. And Lily? Surveillance continues until after the meeting. Once we have an agreement, your daughter becomes irrelevant to my interests. He left, the door locked. Elena sat down on the bed and tried to stop shaking. She'd just convinced Lucien to walk into a meeting with a man who wanted him dead. Convinced him using logic that sounded rational but felt like betrayal. She thought about the North Side massacre again, about acceptable losses, about the calculations Lucien Stien made when he decided 11 deaths were worth eliminating a threat. Tomorrow, she'd find out if her calculation was any better, or if she'd just condemned them both. Sleep was impossible. Elena lay in the windowless room staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. Most of them ended in violence. Some ended with her death. A few, very few, ended with everyone walking away alive. She focused on those few. At some point, exhaustion pulled her under. She dreamed of Lily, of her daughter running through the conservatory, healthy and laughing, chasing butterflies that always stayed just out of reach. When the severe woman woke her with breakfast, Elena's face was wet with tears. "Eat," the woman said. "Big day." Elena forced down toast and coffee that tasted like cardboard and anxiety. Her hands were steadier than yesterday. That surprised her. She'd expected to be falling apart. Instead, she felt focused, clear. Maybe this was how Lucien felt before every dangerous decision. Not fearless, just committed to the choice and its consequences. They brought her clothes, clean jeans, a sweater, boots. Better than what she'd been wearing for 2 days. Elena dressed slowly, trying to calm her hammering heart. At 1:30, Dmitri came for her personally. "Ready?" he asked. "No. Honest, I appreciate that." He gestured to the hallway. "Come. We have 30 minutes to reach the location." They walked through the building. Elena memorized every turn, every exit, cataloging escape routes she'd probably never use. 4 guards accompanied them. 2 in front, 2 behind. Professional spacing. These weren't amateurs. The vehicle was a black SUV with tinted windows. Elena sat in the back with Dmitri. The guards took the front seats and a follow vehicle. Chicago passed outside the windows. Normal people living normal lives, completely unaware that somewhere in their city, 2 criminal organizations were about to decide whether to share power or go to war. "Nervous?" Dmitri asked. "Terrified." "That's wise. This could go very wrong very quickly." "Then why agree to it?" "Because you made a compelling argument, and because I'm curious to see if Devereaux really trusts you enough to walk into a room with me." Dmitri studied her. "Do you know what happens if this negotiation fails?" "You keep me as insurance." "Yes, and that means you spend the rest of your life as a prisoner. Comfortable prison, perhaps, but still prison. Your daughter grows up without you. Devereaux spends years trying to get you back, probably destroying himself in the process." He paused. "That's a heavy consequence to carry into this meeting." Elena met his eyes. "I know. And you're still willing to try?" "What's the alternative? Watch everyone I love destroy each other? At least this way there's a chance." Dmitri nodded slowly. "You remind me of someone. My wife. She died 8 years ago. Cancer." The detail surprised Elena, humanized him in a way that felt uncomfortable. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. She taught me something important before she died. She said that power without purpose is just violence wearing expensive suits." He looked out the window. "I've spent 8 years building an empire. For what? To prove I could? To fill the emptiness she left behind? I don't know anymore." "Then why are you here? Why come to Chicago at all?" "Because emptiness needs occupation, and expanding territory seemed easier than examining why I couldn't sleep at night." His voice was quiet. "But watching you fight for your family reminded me that some things are worth more than power." "Is that why you agreed to this meeting?" "Partially, and partially because I'm tired of being the villain in everyone's story. Perhaps it's time to try being something else." The SUV pulled up to a building Elena didn't recognize. Industrial. Abandoned. The kind of place where significant conversations happened away from witnesses. Guards were already there. Dmitri's men creating a perimeter. Elena scanned for Lucien's people but saw no one. They exited the vehicle. Dmitri led her inside through a heavy metal door that groaned on rusted hinges. The interior was mostly empty. Concrete floors, exposed ductwork. At the center, someone had set up a table and 3 chairs. Industrial lights hung overhead, casting harsh white light across the space. "Wait here," Dmitri said. "He'll arrive in 10 minutes." Elena walked to the table. Her footsteps echoed in the empty space. She counted her breaths, tried to remember everything Lucien had taught her about negotiation, about reading people, about finding leverage in impossible situations. The door opened. Lucien walked in like winter incarnate. He was dressed in black, his expression absolutely empty. 2 men flanked him, Marcus and someone Elena didn't recognize. Both looked ready to kill at a moment's notice. Lucien's eyes found Elena immediately. She watched him scan her for injuries, checking every visible inch. When he seemed satisfied she was intact, some of the tension left his shoulders. "Hello, Lucien," Dmitri said from across the space. "Dmitri," Lucien's voice was flat. "This is an interesting setup, very dramatic. I thought neutral ground would help us think clearly." "Neutral ground," Lucien's laugh was cold. "You kidnapped Elena, threatened her daughter, and shot up her apartment. Nothing about this is neutral." "True. I apologize for the theatrics, but they were necessary to get your attention. You had my attention the moment you moved into Chicago. The kidnapping just guaranteed I'd kill you slowly instead of quickly." Elena stood. "Both of you, sit down." They turned to stare at her. "Now," she said, "before this devolves into a testosterone competition and everyone dies stupid." Dmitri smiled, walked to the table and sat. Lucien remained standing. His eyes stayed locked on Elena. She could see the question there. "Are you okay? Are you being coerced? Tell me what you need." "I'm fine," she said quietly. "And I asked for this meeting. Please trust me." Something shifted in his expression. He walked to the table and sat across from Dmitri. Elena took the chair between them, a physical barrier, a mediator, a target if this went wrong. "Dmitri wants to share Chicago," she said without preamble. 50-50 split of territory and operations. You keep the north and west sides. He takes south and east. Business continues, but with coordination instead of competition. "Not interested," Lucien said immediately. "Why not?" "Because I built this city from nothing. Every territory, every connection, every piece of infrastructure that makes this operation function. I'm not handing half of it to someone who thinks kidnapping civilians is effective negotiation." "It got you here," Dmitri pointed out. "It guaranteed I'd destroy you. There's a difference." Elena held up a hand. "Lucien, put aside ego for 5 minutes. Is there any version of territorial sharing that you'd accept?" He was quiet for a long moment. Elena could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Finally, 70-30 split. I keep the profitable territories. He gets the secondary markets and pays me 15% of gross revenue as access fee. "That's insulting," Dmitri said. "It's generous considering I could just kill you and take everything." "You could try." The tension in the room spiked. Elena felt it like electricity across her skin. Both men were coiled, ready. One wrong word, and this table would become a grave. 60-40, Elena said. Lucien keeps the established territories. Dmitri gets the expansion zones you weren't actively developing anyway. 10% revenue share for the first 2 years, then renegotiate based on performance. Both men stared at her. "That's actually reasonable," Dmitri said slowly. "It's also leaving significant value on the table," Lucien countered. "The expansion zones have long-term potential, which you weren't exploiting because you were focused on consolidation. So let Dmitri develop them. You get passive income from territory you weren't using." Elena looked between them. "Unless this isn't actually about business, unless it's about pride." Lucien's jaw tightened. "You're oversimplifying." "No, I'm cutting through the bullshit. You're both intelligent men building criminal empires. The smart play is cooperation. The stupid play is war that destroys both organizations and hands Chicago to whoever's left standing." She leaned forward. "So which are you, smart or stupid?" Silence. Then Dmitri laughed. "I see why you love her. She's terrifying." "Yes," Lucien said. "She is." 60-40 split, Dmitri said. 10% revenue share for 3 years, not 2. Renegotiation clause based on growth metrics, and one additional condition, which is, you personally guarantee Elena's safety, no retaliation for the kidnapping, no future targeting of her or her daughter. She becomes untouchable in this city. Lucien's expression didn't change. That was already non-negotiable. The moment you took her, you signed your death warrant. The only question was timing. And if I agree to these terms, if we formalize this partnership, then you live. But if you ever threaten her again, if you even think too hard in her direction, I will make the Northside Massacre look merciful. Are we clear?" "Crystal." They stared at each other across the table. Elena held her breath. "Do we have an agreement?" she asked.
Dmitri extended his hand across the table. Lucien looked at it, at Elena, back to the hand. He shook it. Elena exhaled, actually felt dizzy with relief. This will need formal documentation, Dmitri said. Lawyers, contracts, enforcement mechanisms. My people will reach out tomorrow, Lucien said. Now release Elena. Of course. Dmitri stood. She's free to go. As promised. Lucien stood too, reached for Elena. She took his hand and felt the tremor in his grip. We're leaving, Lucien said. One more thing, Dmitri's voice stopped them. The surveillance on your daughter, it ends immediately. My people will withdraw within the hour. Good. They walked toward the door. Marcus and the other security fell in beside them. Elena's legs felt unsteady, but Lucien's hand was solid against hers. They were almost outside when Dmitri called out again. Elena! She turned. Thank you for trying to find a better way. My wife would have liked you. Elena didn't know what to say to that, just nodded. They exited into cold Chicago air that felt like freedom. The SUV was waiting. Lucien opened the door for her, helped her inside, then slid in beside her. The moment the door closed, he pulled her against him. His arms wrapped around her so tightly she could barely breathe. Don't ever do that again, he said against her hair. Don't ever sacrifice yourself thinking you're protecting me. I didn't know what else to do. You should have trusted me to find you. You would have gotten yourself killed storming wherever they had me. Maybe, but that would have been my choice. He pulled back enough to look at her. You're the strongest person I know, but you're not responsible for saving everyone, especially not me. Yes, I am, because I love you. The words came out easier than Elena expected, and love means trying to keep you alive even when you're being suicidally heroic. Lucien's expression softened. He touched her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. I love you too. So much it terrifies me, which is why you can't ever do something like that again. Can't promise that. Elena, if someone threatens you or Lily, I'll do whatever it takes to protect you, even if it's reckless, even if you'd hate me for it. She met his eyes. That's what love means to me. He kissed her, desperate and fierce and tasting like relief. When they pulled apart, Elena was crying, couldn't help it. The tension of the past 2 days was draining out of her all at once. Where's Lily? She asked. Safe, with Dr. Chen at the hospital. Marcus had her moved there when the shooting started. Chen's been guarding her personally. I need to see her. We're going there now. The drive took 20 minutes. Elena spent it pressed against Lucien's side, listening to his heartbeat, trying to convince herself this was real. They'd survived, found a solution that didn't require anyone dying. The hospital felt surreal, normal, fluorescent lights and the smell of antiseptic and people in scrubs moving with practiced efficiency. Dr. Chen was waiting in a private room. Lily was asleep on a hospital bed, curled up under a butterfly print blanket. She looked so small, so fragile. She's fine, Dr. Chen said quietly. No idea anything was wrong. I told her we were having a special sleepover because her treatment schedule changed. Elena walked to the bed, brushed hair from Lily's forehead. Her daughter stirred, opened her eyes. Mommy? Hi, baby. You're here. Dr. Chen said you had work stuff, but I missed you. Lily sat up, threw her arms around Elena's neck. Guess what? My scans are really good. Dr. Chen says the cancer is almost all gone. Elena held her daughter and cried into her hair. Lily patted her back like Elena was the child who needed comforting. It's okay, Mommy. Happy tears, right? Very happy tears. Lily pulled back, saw Lucien standing in the doorway. Her face lit up. Mr. Lucien, did you hear? I'm getting better. I heard. Lucien walked over, crouched down to Lily's level. I'm very proud of you. You've been so brave. Marcus says brave people get presents. Is that true? Very true. What kind of present would you like? Lily thought about it seriously. Can we go to the conservatory? All three of us? When I'm all better? I want to show you my favorite butterflies. Lucien glanced at Elena. She nodded. It's a promise, he said. The conservatory. All three of us. And Marcus? And Marcus? Lily beamed, then yawned. I'm sleepy again. Treatments make me tired. Sleep, baby, Elena said. I'll be right here. Lily curled back up.
Within minutes, she was asleep again. Elena stood, walked out into the hallway where Dr. Chen was reviewing charts with Marcus. How long until she can go home? Elena asked. 2 more days of monitoring, then she's clear. We'll continue outpatient treatment, but she's through the worst of it. Dr. Chen smiled. She's a fighter. She gets it from her mother, Lucien said. They thanked Dr. Chen and walked to a private waiting room. Marcus stood guard outside. Inside, away from everyone, Elena let herself collapse. Lucien caught her, guided her to a chair, sat beside her, and just held her while she shook. It's over, he said. You're safe. Lily's safe. The threat's gone. I thought I was going to die. I thought Dmitri was going to torture me and send you pieces and you'd do something reckless and... Her voice broke. But he didn't. You talked your way out. Negotiated a peace deal between 2 criminal organizations using nothing but logic and courage. Lucien tilted her face up. You're magnificent and terrifying, and I'm never letting you out of my sight again. You can't protect me from everything. Watch me try. Elena laughed wetly. That's not how this works. Then teach me how it works, because I'm very good at protection and very bad at letting people I love face danger without me. We'll figure it out together. Together. Lucien tested the word. I like that. They sat in the quiet waiting room, holding each other while Chicago moved around them. In 2 days, Lily would go home. The deal with Dmitri would be formalized. Life would continue. But something fundamental had shifted. Elena had walked into darkness and walked back out. Had faced the worst possible scenario and survived it. Had proven to herself that she was more than the desperate bartender kneeling in broken glass. She was someone who could stand beside Lucien Devereaux and not just survive his world, but shape it. I have a question, she said quietly. Anything. The expansion territories you agreed to give Dmitri. You were actually planning to develop those, weren't you? Lucien smiled. Yes. So why agree? Because keeping you alive was worth more than territory. Because that deal guaranteed Dmitri had a vested interest in your continued safety. And because... He paused. Because you asked me to trust you, and I'm trying to learn how to do that. Elena kissed him, soft, grateful. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm going to be insufferably overprotective for the next several months. I can live with that. They stayed at the hospital that night. Took turns sleeping in the chair beside Lily's bed. When Elena woke at 3 a.m., Lucien was sitting by the window, staring out at Chicago's nighttime skyline. Can't sleep? She asked. Thinking. About? The future. What it looks like now that you and Lily are part of it. He looked at her. I've spent 15 years building power. Never thought about what comes after. What I'd actually do with it once I had it. And now? Now I'm thinking about teaching positions in butterfly conservatories and what it means to be someone's stepfather. His voice was quiet. Thinking about whether a man like me deserves that kind of future. Elena got up, walked to where he sat and settled into his lap. His arms came around her automatically. You deserve whatever you're willing to fight for, she said. And I've watched you fight for me and Lily like we're worth more than your entire empire. So yeah, you deserve this. Even after everything I've done? Because of everything you've done. You're not a good man pretending to be bad. You're a complicated man trying to be better. That's enough for me. Lucien buried his face in her hair. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. They sat together in the hospital room watching their daughter sleep, planning a future neither of them had believed was possible. Outside, Chicago glittered in the darkness. 2 criminal organizations were signing peace accords. A little girl was beating cancer. A desperate bartender had become someone who negotiated with monsters and won. And somewhere in the city's shadows, Lucien Devereaux, the man who'd built an empire on violence and fear, was learning what it meant to love something more than power. The transformation wasn't complete, probably never would be, but it was beginning. And that was everything. 3 weeks after the meeting with Dmitri, Elena stood in the kitchen of Lucien's penthouse at 6 in the morning, watching the sun bleed orange across Lake Michigan. She couldn't sleep anymore. Not properly. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that windowless room, felt the weight of captivity pressing against her ribs, heard Dimitri's pleasant voice explaining how he'd send Lucien pieces of her until cooperation seemed reasonable. The nightmares were getting worse, not better. Behind her, she heard Lucien's footsteps, bare feet on hardwood. He moved quietly for someone his size, but Elena had learned to track the small sounds that announced his presence. "Another bad night?" he asked. "I'm fine." "That's the third time this week you've been up before dawn. You're not fine." Elena didn't turn around, just kept watching the sunrise paint the city in shades of blood and gold. "I just needed air." Lucien came up behind her. Didn't touch her, but stood close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Talk to me." "About what?" "About whatever's keeping you awake. About the fact that you haven't really slept since we got you back. About the way you check every room for exits now and can't stand having your back to doors." Elena's throat tightened. "I'm handling it." "You're surviving it. That's different." She finally turned to face him. Lucien looked exhausted too. Shadows under his eyes that makeup couldn't hide. He'd been working 18-hour days trying to formalize the arrangement with Dimitri while simultaneously restructuring his operation to accommodate the new territorial divisions. "You're not sleeping either," she said. "No. I keep thinking about all the ways that meeting could have gone wrong, all the scenarios where I lost you." His voice dropped. "I replay it constantly. Different variables, different outcomes. Most of them end with you dead and me burning Chicago to the ground in retaliation. But that's not what happened. No. Because you were braver and smarter than anyone had a right to expect. But that doesn't stop my brain from running the other scenarios. The ones where Dimitri decided you weren't valuable enough to keep alive. Where his men got trigger happy. Where... Stop." Elena stepped closer, pressed her hand against his chest. "We can't live in the scenarios that didn't happen. We're here, alive together. That has to be enough." "Is it? Enough for you?" The question landed heavier than it should have. Elena looked up at him, at this man who'd saved her daughter and destroyed her peace of mind in equal measure. "I don't know yet," she said honestly. "Ask me again in a month." Something painful crossed Lucien's expression, but he nodded. "Fair enough." Her phone buzzed, a text from Dr. Chen. "Lily's final scans are today at 10 a.m. Results should be available by noon. Fingers crossed for complete remission. Complete remission." The words Elena had been holding her breath for since that terrible night when a pediatric oncologist had told her leukemia was slowly killing her daughter. "It's scan day," she told Lucien. "I know. I have it in my calendar." He'd been tracking Lily's treatment schedule more carefully than Elena sometimes. "I cleared my morning. I'll drive you both to the hospital." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. This is important. Everything else can wait." They stood in the kitchen as dawn broke fully across Chicago, two people who'd survived the impossible and were trying to figure out how to live with what survival had cost them. Bosset. Lily was vibrating with nervous energy when they picked her up from Elena's apartment. She'd been staying there with Elena's neighbor watching her, a grandmother type who asked no questions and accepted the generous cash payments Lucien provided for her trouble. "Do you think the cancer is all gone?" Lily asked for the 5th time as they drove to Northwestern Memorial. She was sitting in the back seat, dressed in her favorite butterfly shirt, her hair growing back in soft curls that made her look younger than 7. "Dr. Chen thinks so," Elena said, "but we won't know for sure until we see the scans." "What if it's not gone?" "Then we keep fighting, like we've been doing." "I'm tired of fighting," Lily said quietly. "I want to just be normal again." Elena's chest ached. She turned in her seat to look at her daughter. "I know, baby. Soon. I promise." Lucien caught Elena's eye in the rearview mirror. She saw her own fear reflected there. This was it. The moment that would determine if 6 months of brutal treatment had actually worked, if Lily would get to grow up, or if they'd be starting another round of increasingly desperate interventions. The hospital waiting room was familiar by now. Elena knew every crack in the tile floor, every outdated magazine, the particular smell of antiseptic mixed with fear that permeated the pediatric oncology wing. Dr. Chen appeared after 20 minutes. Her expression was carefully neutral. She'd learned not to show her cards before delivering news. "Elena, Lily, come with me." They followed her into an exam room. Lucien stayed in the waiting room, giving them space but positioned where Elena could see him through the window. A solid presence. Anchor. Dr. Chen pulled up images on her computer screen. Elena didn't know how to read CT scans properly, but she'd learned enough over the past months to recognize the shadowy masses that indicated cancer. She didn't see any.
These are Lily's scans from this morning, Dr. Chen said. She clicked through several images. Chest, abdomen, lymph nodes, all clear. And these are her scans from 6 months ago when we started the aggressive protocol. The difference was stark. The earlier scans showed her daughter's small body riddled with disease. The current ones looked clean.
Is it gone? Elena asked. Her voice came out strangled. Dr. Chen smiled, actually smiled. Complete remission, no detectable cancer. Her blood work is excellent. All her markers are normal. Lily, you did it. You beat it. Lily looked between the adults, her eyes wide. Really? It's all gone. All gone. So I'm not sick anymore? You're in remission, which means we'll need to monitor you carefully for the next 5 years to make sure it doesn't come back. But right now, today, you are cancer-free. Lily threw her arms around Dr. Chen, then around Elena. Then she was crying and laughing, and Elena was crying too, and the entire world felt like it was made of light and air and possibility. Lucien appeared in the doorway. He must have seen Elena's face through the window, understood immediately what the tears meant. Mr. Lucien, Lily launched herself at him. I'm better. The cancer's gone. He caught her, lifted her up, his expression doing something complicated that Elena had never seen before. Joy mixed with relief, mixed with something that looked like pain. I'm so proud of you, he said. You're the bravest person I know. Marcus said you'd take me to see the butterflies when I got better. Can we go? Can we go today? Lucien looked at Elena over Lily's head. She nodded. Today, he promised. Right after we finish here. All 3 of us. Dr. Chen went through discharge instructions, continued monitoring schedule, signs to watch for, restrictions that were significantly fewer than before. Lily would still need regular checkups, but she could return to normal life. School, playing, being a kid instead of a cancer patient. They left the hospital in a daze. Elena kept touching Lily's shoulder, her hair, like physical contact would confirm this was real and not some desperate dream. In the car, Lily fell asleep almost immediately. The adrenaline crash after months of fighting. Lucien drove toward the conservatory in silence. Elena watched Chicago pass outside the window, the same streets she'd walked for years, but everything looked different now. Sharper, more vivid. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For saving her. For paying for treatment I could never afford. For Dr. Chen and the experimental protocol and everything. Her voice cracked. She's alive because of you. She's alive because she's strong, because you never gave up on her. Lucien's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I just provided resources. You provided everything else. Don't diminish what you did. I'm not. But I need you to understand something, Elena. I didn't save Lily to earn your gratitude or your love. I did it because watching a child die when I had the power to prevent it was unacceptable to me. That's all. The words should have felt cold. Instead, they felt honest, real. That's not all, Elena said. You care about her, about both of us. You can pretend it's just resource allocation, but I've watched you read to her when she was too sick to sit up. I've seen how you tracked every single treatment milestone. That's not business. That's love. Lucien was quiet for several blocks. When he spoke, his voice was rough. Yes, I love her. I love you both. And that terrifies me more than any threat I've ever faced. Why? Because love makes you vulnerable, makes you weak. I've spent 15 years eliminating vulnerabilities from my life, and then you walked into the velvet rose covered in broken glass, and I couldn't look away. Elena reached over, took his hand. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. Being willing to care about something you could lose. Then I'm the most courageous coward in Chicago, because I care about you and Lily more than I've ever cared about anything, and I'm absolutely terrified of losing you. They pulled up to the conservatory. Lily woke up as Lucien parked, immediately vibrating with excitement again. Inside, the air was humid and thick with the smell of earth and growing things. Butterflies drifted through the carefully controlled environment, monarchs and swallowtails and species Elena didn't know the names for. Lily ran ahead, chasing a particularly large monarch. Her laughter echoed off the glass walls. Look, Mommy, look how big! Elena and Lucien followed more slowly, watching Lily rediscover the joy of being a healthy child. She's going to be okay, Lucien said quietly. Really okay. Yes. And you? Are you going to be okay? Elena thought about the nightmares, about the way her hands still shook sometimes when she heard unexpected noises, about the fact that she'd been kidnapped, threatened, and traumatized in ways she was still processing. Eventually, she said, but it's going to take time. I can give you time, space, whatever you need. What I need is for you to stop treating me like I'm going to break. I'm tougher than I look. I know you are. I've seen exactly how tough you are. That's what scares me, that you'll decide being with me isn't worth the danger, that you'll take Lily and disappear into normal life, and I'll lose both of you. Elena stopped walking, turned to face him fully. Around them, butterflies drifted like living confetti. Do you want to know what I think about at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep? What? I think about the fact that you gave me $10,000 the first night we met. No expectations, no strings, just help when I was drowning. Her voice steadied. I think about how you read medical journals to understand Lily's treatment, how you threatened Dmitri with graphic violence when he took me, how you've never once asked me to be anything other than exactly who I am. Elena, I'm not finished. I also think about the 11 people you killed, about the fact that you run a criminal empire built on violence and fear, about how loving you means accepting that you're capable of terrible things. She stepped closer. And I think about how I love you anyway, not despite those things, just in full knowledge of them. Lucien looked at her like she'd just offered him something he'd never expected to receive. That's not rational. Love isn't rational. It's choosing someone even when the smart choice would be to run, even when being with them means danger and complexity and nightmares at 3 a.m. Elena took his hand. I'm choosing you, fully aware of what that choice costs. You might regret that choice. Maybe, but I'd regret walking away more. He kissed her, soft and careful, like she was something precious that might shatter. When they pulled apart, Lily was watching them from across the conservatory, a huge grin on her face. Are you guys in love? She called out. Elena laughed. Very much. Good, because Mr. Lucien promised to be my new daddy if you guys got married. Right, Mr. Lucien? Lucien looked startled. When did I promise that? When I was in the hospital. You said families take care of each other, and we're a family now. Lily said it with the absolute certainty of a child who had decided how the world should work. Lily, Elena started. She's right, Lucien interrupted. We are a family, if you'll have me. Elena's throat was tight. Are you proposing in a butterfly conservatory? No, I'm stating facts. When I propose, it'll be significantly more romantic, with a ring, and probably terrible nervousness. His expression softened. But she's right. You and Lily are my family, the only family I've chosen in 15 years. So if you're choosing me, I'm choosing you back. Completely. Permanently. Lily ran over, threw her arms around both of them. Does this mean we can live in the big apartment with all the windows? If your mom agrees, yes. Can Marcus come visit? Marcus lives at the big apartment. He's security. Can I have a butterfly room? Lucien laughed. Absolutely not. But we can come here every weekend if you want. Deal. Lily ran off again, chasing butterflies, completely unaware that she'd just casually restructured 3 people's entire lives. Elena looked up at Lucien. That was smooth. Using my daughter to negotiate your way into permanent living arrangements. I learned from the best. You negotiated a peace treaty with a Russian mobster using nothing but logic and audacity. I figured proposing cohabitation via 7-year-old was comparatively easy. We're really doing this? Moving in together? Becoming a family? If you want to, no pressure. We can take it slow. Elena thought about her cramped apartment, about the life she'd built from desperation and survival instinct, about how none of it felt like home anymore compared to the penthouse overlooking the lake, where Lucien made her coffee exactly how she liked it, and read medical journals to understand her daughter's disease. Slow is overrated, she said. We've already survived kidnapping and cancer and negotiations with criminal organizations. Moving in together seems easy by comparison.
You're sure? No, I'm terrified, but I'm doing it anyway. Lucian kissed her again, deeper this time, like making promises with his mouth that his words couldn't quite reach. When they finally left the conservatory 3 hours later, Lily was exhausted and happy, carrying a small book about butterfly migration that Lucian had bought her from the gift shop. The drive home to Lucian's penthouse that would soon be their penthouse felt surreal. Elena kept looking at her daughter in the back seat, at this man beside her who'd become essential, and trying to reconcile this life with the one she'd been living 6 months ago. "What are you thinking?" Lucian asked.
That 6 months ago I was a bartender drowning in medical debt and desperation, and now I'm dating Chicago's most dangerous man. My daughter's in remission, and we're about to move into a penthouse I couldn't have afforded in 10 lifetimes. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I honestly don't know yet. Ask me again in 6 months. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. This is all too new, too intense. I need time to process. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. The first week living together was strange. Elena had never shared space with a romantic partner. Not really. Her marriage to Raphael had been brief and awful, ended before they'd even properly learned each other's habits. Lucien was meticulous. Everything had its place. He woke at 5 every morning, worked out for an hour, then spent exactly 30 minutes reading news from various sources before his first meeting. Elena was chaos by comparison. She left coffee cups in random places, kicked off shoes wherever she happened to be standing, forgot to put things back where they belonged. It should have driven him crazy. Instead, he seemed charmed by it, would find her abandoned coffee cup and bring it to her with fresh coffee, pick up her shoes and place them neatly by the door without comment. "You don't have to clean up after me," Elena said one morning, watching him gather her scattered textbooks from the living room. "I know, but I like taking care of you, even in small ways." "That's weird." "Most things about me are weird. You knew that going in." Lily adapted faster than either of them. She claimed the guest room as her own, decorated it with butterfly posters and drawings, and started treating the penthouse like she'd lived there forever. Marcus became a permanent fixture. He had an apartment in the building but spent most of his time in the penthouse, rotating shifts with 2 other security personnel. Lily adopted all of them as uncles, convinced Marcus to teach her chess, and generally charmed everyone who came through the door. Elena went back to school full-time. Her online education program had evolved into actual college courses, working toward the teaching degree she'd abandoned a decade ago. Lucien insisted on paying tuition. They'd argued about it. "I can't let you pay for everything," Elena had said. "Why not? I have money. You need an education. This is logical resource allocation." "It's not about logic. It's about me maintaining some independence." "You want independence? Get your degree. Become a teacher. Build a career that's entirely yours. But let me remove the financial barriers preventing that. That's not control. That's support." She'd agreed eventually, mostly because arguing with Lucien when he was being reasonable was exhausting. 2 months after moving in, Elena woke up screaming. The nightmare had been vivid, Dimitri's men holding her down, the sharp prick of a needle, the sickening vertigo of losing consciousness. She came back to reality gasping, drenched in sweat. Lucien was already awake, pulling her against him. "You're safe. You're here. It was a dream." It felt real. "I know." She pressed her face against his chest, trying to steady her breathing. These nightmares came less frequently now, but they were still brutal when they hit. "You should talk to someone," Lucien said quietly. "A professional. About the kidnapping. The trauma." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You wake up screaming twice a week. You can't stand in closed spaces. You check every room for exits." His hand traced patterns on her back. "I should know. I do the same things, have for years." That surprised her. "You have nightmares?" "Not nightmares exactly. Memories, things I've done, people I've hurt. They don't go away just because I've justified them to myself." He was quiet for a moment. "I see a therapist. Have for the past 8 years. Best decision I ever made for my mental health." "You see a therapist? Why is that surprising?" "Because you're..." Elena gestured vaguely. "You. powerful and controlled and seemingly unshakable. I'm powerful and controlled because I learned how to process trauma instead of letting it consume me. The therapist helped with that. He kissed her forehead. I'll send you her information if you want it. No pressure. Elena thought about that, about the fact that Lucien, who projected absolute confidence and control, had spent years working through his own demons with professional help. Okay, she said, send me the information. The next morning, she called Dr. Sarah Winters, a trauma specialist who apparently had several clients from Lucien's organization and maintained ironclad confidentiality. The first session was brutal. Elena cried through most of it, reliving the kidnapping, the fear, the helplessness. But afterward, she felt lighter, like something that had been pressing on her chest had loosened slightly. She kept going, once a week, sometimes twice when the nightmares got bad. Slowly, the dreams became less frequent, the panic attacks spacing further apart. She still checked rooms for exits, but it became habit rather than compulsion. Spring arrived in Chicago with typical Midwest aggression, freezing rain one day, 70 degrees the next. Lily's hair had grown back completely, thick dark curls like Elena's. She'd returned to school full-time, made friends, joined an after-school art program. Her quarterly scans continued to show no signs of cancer. Dr. Chen started talking about extending the monitoring intervals, moving from monthly to quarterly. The casual confidence with which she discussed Lily's long-term survival made Elena want to cry with relief every time. On a Saturday in late April, Lucien took them to Navy Pier. It was crowded, tourists and locals enjoying the first genuinely warm weekend of the year. They rode the Ferris wheel. Lily pressed her face against the window, pointing out landmarks she recognized from the penthouse views. At the top, Lucien turned to Elena. I have a question to ask you. Okay? He pulled out a small box from his jacket pocket, opened it. The ring inside was stunning, simple platinum band with a single diamond, elegant without being ostentatious. Marry me, he said. Not a question, a statement. Elena's heart stopped. Lily gasped. Mommy, say yes, say yes. You planned this, Elena said. Her voice came out strangled. You brought Lily so I couldn't say no. I brought Lily because she's part of this family, part of this decision. If you marry me, you're marrying into my life, my world, my complications. She should be here for that. That's manipulative. Yes. But is it working? Elena looked at the ring, at Lucien's expression, nervous and hopeful and trying to hide both, at her daughter bouncing in her seat with excitement. She thought about this past 9 months, the terror and the joy and the transformation from desperate bartender to woman who could negotiate with criminals and mean it. She thought about waking up next to Lucien every morning, about watching him read to Lily, about the way he'd learned to make her coffee exactly how she liked it, and remembered every important date and anniversary without being asked. She thought about the nightmares he still had, the darkness he carried, the fact that he'd killed people and would probably kill again if circumstances required it, and she thought about how none of that changed the fundamental truth that she loved him completely. Yes, she said. Lucien's expression transformed, pure relief mixed with joy. He slid the ring onto her finger, perfect fit, because of course he'd somehow figured out her size, and kissed her. Lily cheered loud enough that other people in nearby gondolas turned to stare. When they came down from the Ferris wheel, Marcus was waiting with champagne and sparkling cider. He must have known this was coming, had probably helped plan it. Congratulations, boss. Elena. He handed them glasses. You're good for him. Makes him almost human sometimes. Thanks, Marcus, Lucien said dryly. They toasted on Navy Pier while tourists took photos, and Lily told everyone who'd listen that her mom was getting married to the best almost daddy in Chicago. That night, after Lily was asleep, Elena and Lucien sat on the balcony overlooking the lake. You know this means you're stuck with me now, Elena said. Can't get rid of me even if you wanted to. Why would I want to? Because I'm complicated. Because I come with trauma and nightmares and a daughter who requires constant attention. Because being with me means navigating all of that. You think you're the complicated one in this relationship? Lucien laughed. Elena, I run a criminal empire. I have enemies who'd kill you to hurt me. I have a past full of violence that I can't erase and don't entirely regret. You're signing up for that, not the other way around. We're both signing up for complicated.
Yes, but we're doing it together. That makes it easier. Elena leaned against him, watching lights reflect across dark water. When should we do this? The wedding? Whenever you want. Tomorrow? Next year. I don't care about the timeline. I care about the commitment. Something small. Just us and Lily, and maybe Marcus and Dr. Chen. Perfect. They sat in comfortable silence. Elena played with the ring on her finger, still getting used to its weight. I never thought I'd have this, she said quietly. A partner who actually shows up, who helps instead of making things harder, who loves my daughter like she's his own. I never thought I'd want it. Spent 15 years convinced that attachments were weaknesses I couldn't afford. Lucien's arm tightened around her. Then you showed me that attachments can be strength, that having something worth protecting gives purpose to all the power I've built.
That's surprisingly philosophical for a crime lord. I contain multitudes. They went inside when the temperature dropped, made love slowly, carefully, like they had all the time in the world now, fell asleep tangled together while Chicago hummed below. They married 6 weeks later in the penthouse. Elena wore a simple white dress she'd found at a boutique in Lincoln Park. Nothing elaborate, just clean lines and elegant simplicity. Lily was flower girl, wearing lavender and carrying a basket of butterfly-shaped confetti instead of actual flowers. The ceremony was brief. A judge Lucien knew probably owed him favors knowing Lucien performed the service. Marcus stood as witness alongside Dr. Chen. Elena's mother came. She'd been cautiously supportive when Elena told her about the engagement, though she'd asked pointed questions about what exactly Lucien did for a living. Private equity, Elena had said. Not technically a lie, just an incomplete truth. When the judge pronounced them married, Lucien kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. Lily cheered. Marcus looked suspiciously misty-eyed. Dr. Chen smiled. The reception was small, just dinner at a private room in one of Lucien's restaurants. Good food, better wine, and the kind of relaxed conversation that came from people who genuinely cared about each other. Halfway through dessert, Lily fell asleep in her chair. Lucien carried her to the car without waking her, settled her in the back seat with practiced care. You're good at that, Elena observed. I've had practice. She falls asleep in random places constantly. I mean, being a father, you're good at it. Something shifted in Lucien's expression. I'm trying to be. Never had a good model for it growing up. You're doing better than you think. They drove home, to their home now, legally and emotionally, through Chicago's nighttime streets. The city looked different somehow, less threatening, more like possibility. That night, after Lily was tucked into bed and the apartment was quiet, Lucien and Elena stood by the windows overlooking the lake. Mrs. Devereaux, Lucien said, testing out her new name, that's going to take getting used to. You could keep your maiden name if you prefer. No, I like it. Elena Devereaux. Sounds sophisticated. You are sophisticated. You negotiated with Dmitry Kozlov and lived to tell about it. That's sophisticated and terrifying. Elena laughed, turned to face him fully. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. That first night in the Velvet Rose. You could have walked past me, could have ignored the desperate bartender covered in broken glass. But you didn't. I couldn't. You were the only real thing in that entire room. Lucien cupped her face. Still are. The only real thing in my entire world. They made love against the windows overlooking Chicago, the city they'd both survived in different ways. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets, talking about nothing and everything. What happens now? Elena asked. What do you mean? The deal with Dmitry, your organization, how does that evolve? Lucien was quiet for a moment. I'm stepping back, gradually. Dmitry's handling the expansion territories. I'm converting most of my operations to legitimate businesses over the next 2 years, real estate, tech investments, things that don't require violence to maintain. That surprised Elena. You're going legitimate? Mostly. I'll keep enough of the old infrastructure to stay relevant, stay protected. But I'm tired of living in that world completely. Tired of looking over my shoulder and wondering when someone will decide I'm a threat worth eliminating. What changed? You.
Lily. The realization that I'm 37 years old and I've spent 20 years building power I don't particularly enjoy using anymore. He pulled her closer. I want something different now. I want to teach Lily to drive when she's 16. Want to watch you become a teacher and build a career. Want to have normal arguments about whose turn it is to do dishes instead of which territories to defend. Elena's throat was tight. That's a big change.
I know, but I'm ready for it. For the first time in my life, I'm ready to be something other than what I built myself into. What if you regret it? Then I'll deal with the regret, but I don't think I will, because the alternative is watching you and Lily exist in my world and knowing I'm putting you in danger every day. That's not acceptable anymore. They fell asleep eventually. Elena dreamed about butterflies and conservatories and a future that looked nothing like the past she'd survived. 2 years passed. Lily turned 9. Her cancer remained in remission. Dr. Chen extended monitoring to annual checkups, declared her functionally cured. Elena graduated with her teaching degree, got hired at an elementary school in Lincoln Park teaching 3rd grade. The pay was terrible compared to what Lucien made, but the job satisfied something in her that money couldn't touch. Lucien kept his promise. He dismantled most of his criminal operations, converted everything he could to legitimate business. The transition wasn't smooth. There were threats, attempts at territory grabs, one terrifying week when someone tried to assassinate him at a business dinner. But he survived. They all survived. The arrangement with Dmitri evolved into something almost resembling friendship. They met quarterly to discuss business interests, occasionally had dinner together with Elena present. Dmitri never remarried after his wife's death, but he seemed less hollow than he had that day in the warehouse. On a Saturday morning in late spring, Elena woke to Lily jumping on the bed. "Mommy, Dad, wake up! It's Butterfly Day!" They'd been going to the conservatory every month since Lily's remission. It had become tradition, their day. No work, no obligations, just the 3 of them watching butterflies and being grateful for survival. At the conservatory, Lily ran ahead like always. She knew every species by name now, could recite migration patterns and life cycle facts with the confidence of a junior expert. Elena and Lucien followed more slowly, hands linked. "She's happy," Lucien observed. "Yeah, really happy." Elena watched her daughter chase a monarch. "Sometimes I forget she was ever sick. Then I remember and it hits me all over again how close we came to losing her. But we didn't. She's here, healthy, happy. That's what matters. Thanks to you. Thanks to everyone. Dr. Chen, the treatment, Lily's own strength." He squeezed her hand. "You give me too much credit. I give you exactly the right amount of credit. You saved her life. Our lives. That's just fact." They found a bench near the tropical section, sat watching butterflies drift through humid air while Lily sketched in her nature journal, a gift from Marcus, who'd apparently developed a soft spot for the kid who'd adopted him as an uncle. "Do you ever regret it?" Elena asked. "Giving up your empire? Going legitimate?" "No. Do you regret marrying a reformed criminal?" "Reformed is generous, semi-reformed maybe." "Fair," Lucien smiled. "But do you regret it?" Elena thought about the past 2 years, about the nightmares that had faded to occasional disturbances instead of nightly terrors, about watching Lily grow healthy and strong, about building a life that looked nothing like what she'd imagined but felt more real than anything she'd lived before. "No," she said. "No regrets." "Good. Because I'm not letting you go even if you did regret it." "Possessive. Always have been. You knew that marrying me." Lily ran over, breathless and grinning. "There's a chrysalis about to hatch. Come see." They followed her to a small enclosure where a monarch chrysalis was indeed splitting open. The butterfly emerged slowly, wings wet and crumpled. "It looks broken," Lily said, worried. "It's not broken," Elena explained. "It's just transforming. The wings need time to dry and strengthen before it can fly." They watched the butterfly slowly unfold its wings, test them, learn how to use what it had become. "That's us," Lucien said quietly, only loud enough for Elena to hear. "What?" "The butterfly, coming out of the chrysalis different than we went in, needing time to figure out how to fly with what we've become." Elena looked at him, at this man who'd transformed from ruthless crime lord to something softer,
Something that could love and be loved without destroying everything he touched. Yeah, she said, that's us.
The butterfly took its first flight, unsteady but determined. It circled the enclosure once, then found an open window and disappeared into the Chicago sky. Do you think it'll be okay? Lily asked. I think it'll be fine, Elena said. It's strong. It survived the transformation. That's the hard part. Flying is just practice. They stayed at the conservatory until closing, walked home through Lincoln Park as evening settled over the city. Lily between them, holding both their hands, chattering about butterflies and school and the art project she wanted to start. That night, after Lily was asleep, Elena and Lucien stood on their balcony, the same balcony where he'd proposed, where they'd made promises to each other and to a future neither of them quite believed was possible. Do you remember that first night? Elena asked. When I dropped the glass at the Velvet Rose? Every second of it. Did you know then that this was where we'd end up? No, I knew you were different, that you mattered in a way I couldn't explain. But I didn't know it would become this. He pulled her against him. Did you? God, no. I thought you were terrifying, rich and powerful and completely out of my league. I am terrifying, and you're way out of my league. You always have been. Elena laughed, turned in his arms to face him. We've come a long way from broken glass and $10,000. Yes, we have. Lucien kissed her forehead, and we have a long way still to go. Teaching career to build, Lily to raise, life to live. Together. Together. They went inside, to the home they'd built from desperation and hope and love that refused to follow any logical path. To the daughter sleeping peacefully in the next room, her body finally free of the disease that had nearly claimed her. To the life neither of them had planned, but both had chosen. Chicago glittered below them. The city that had witnessed their transformation from desperate bartender and ruthless crime lord to something softer, something that looked like family. And in the morning, they'd wake up and keep building. Keep choosing each other. Keep learning how to fly with the wings they'd earned through survival. Because that's what transformation required. Not just surviving the change, but learning how to live with what you became after. Elena Devereaux. Once Elena Velez, once a woman who knelt in broken glass and believed she was invisible, fell asleep that night in the arms of the man who'd seen her when everyone else looked away. And Lucien Devereaux, once a boy who survived through violence, once a man who believed power was the only thing worth building, held her close and remembered what it felt like to be human. Outside, Chicago slept. And somewhere in the conservatory's carefully controlled environment, a newly emerged butterfly tested its wings and prepared to fly. Just like them. Different than they'd been, stronger for the transformation, ready for whatever came next.